Chapter 5391. When Long Chen and the others passed through the barrier, a desolate and murderous air rushed towards them. The aura of Tang Weiner and the others became extremely active in an instant. The endless wind energy seemed to be blessing them. Power, countless times more active than Fengshen H. Xiaoye and the others exclaimed. They felt that their wind power was rapidly blending with the wind energy here. At that moment, they seemed to be the masters of this field. At this moment, they finally understood why the Fengyu battlefield belonged to the Fengshen High Pavilion. This endless blessing was just the will protection left by the strong people of the Fengshen lineage, and this was their home. Snapped, Long Chen stretched out his big hand and snapped his fingers in the air. Everyone immediately understood and held the hilt of the sword one by one. The breath was slowly rising, and all the wind power in the body was slowly mobilized. They were accumulating strength. Store your strength to its peak in the shortest possible time. Buzz. The energy of the wind system circulated around the Yinlong warriors, and under the blessing of the wind field battlefield, their strength was blessed like never before, and Ling Tian's fighting spirit was crazily rising. However, they were only accumulating energy, but did not summon a vision, but even so, their fierce aura was already making one's scalp tingle. Kill. And at this moment, a group of idiots roared and growled in the enchantment, as if they were afraid that the Hidden Dragon Legion would not know their arrival. The sound was louder than the braying of a donkey. Compared to the side of the Hidden Dragon Legion, it was silent, but the blue veins in the hand holding the long sword had begun to bulge slowly, their bodies bowed slightly forward, and all the strength of the whole body was concentrated on the long sword. Take off the clothes of these women. Obscene screams came like a tsunami, and when they rushed through the barrier, the moment their vision recovered, they saw figures like cheetahs. At that moment, they suddenly felt bad. Choke. More than 7,000 long swords were unsheathed at the same time, like the chant of the blue dragon, or like the death horn blowing the horn of death. The fierce sword energy cut out, overlapping, one wave after another, overlapping and pulling each other. Puff puff. Countless strong men had just rushed out of the barrier, and before they could clearly see what was happening in front of them, they were smashed into pieces by the endless waves of sword energy. Whirring. The sword energy of the Hidden Dragon warriors slashed outwards as if they didn't want money. Everyone could cut several swords in the blink of an eye, and these sword energy formed a net of death. Not to mention that these people are not prepared. Even if they are prepared, even if they burst out with the strongest defense, they cannot resist such a dense attack. They were all too careless, thinking that the Hidden Dragon Legion would flee immediately after they entered the Wind Domain battlefield, but they didn't expect that they had set up a killing array and waited for them to come and die. Endless sword chi surged. The first group of people were cut into pieces as soon as they left the barrier, and the second group saw that the situation was not good, so they were about to retreat. He was rushing forward desperately, for fear that the rush would be slow, and the Hidden Dragon army would escape. As a result, amidst endless exclamations and screams, countless people were pushed into the death vortex by the people behind, and were finally strangled into blood mist in despair. In almost a few breaths of time, hundreds of thousands of strong people have been killed just like this, and some of them are powerful masters. But no matter how powerful a master is, they would have to drink their hatred if they were caught off guard. For a while, the scene was chaotic, and the people in the barrier finally realized that something was wrong. Someone shouted and asked everyone to stop rushing forward. Detour around the boundaries. The enchantment of the wind field battlefield has a super wide range, and anyone can enter from anywhere. This is why this group of people is so anxious to follow behind the Hidden Dragon army, fearing that if they enter from other places, they will lose their target. Although there is someone directing them, this group of people is not a group, and they don't have the habit of cooperating. In the chaos, some people can't tell the difference between east, west, north, and east. Was also killed. More than 7,000 fighters lined up in a row, and the attack range was very wide. The sword energy from each person was fan-shaped, and each attack range was superimposed with the power of at least a dozen people. This kind of lethality is not so powerful at all. A mob can resist it. Boom, Suddenly, a shocking blood burst out of the barrier, and a dragon's roar resounded through the sky, followed by a bone spear, which broke through the void and came out of the barrier abruptly. Bang bang bang. The endless sword energy was forcefully blasted by the bone spear, and then a tall figure pierced through the barrier. That person was none other than a strong member of the Yinglong clan. His blood was soaring to the sky, the divine splendor flowed on the dragon scales all over his body, the sound of the dragon chant was endless, and the murderous aura was soaring to the sky. On the white bone spear, endless dragon patterns flowed, exuding a shocking dragon power, and the bloody atmosphere permeated the whole world. The man from the Yinglong clan rushed out, and the violent aura shook dozens of hidden dragon warriors to retreat. As soon as they retreated, the overall formation was affected, and they all retreated a bit. At this time, the strong men in the barrier felt the pressure loosen and immediately rushed out. Millions of strong men rushed out like a torrent, and the formation of the hidden dragon army could not be maintained immediately. Back to the dragon array, Long Chen yelled. Apparently Xiaoye and the others didn't react fast enough. Facing endless enemies coming, they were still waiting and watching, deciding which formation to use. At this time, based on their experience, no matter what formation they use, it is basically right. Only indecision is wrong. That way they will lose the opportunity and become passive. When the hidden dragon warriors heard Long Chen's command, they immediately changed their formations. While fighting, they moved closer to each other, and at the same time retreated rapidly to avoid being surrounded by the opponent, so as to maintain absolute agility. Long Chen, let me meet you in Tianhua. Seeing that Long Chen was still giving orders, the strong man of the Yinglong family stopped shouting, stepped into the void, and stabbed down with a spear, and a spear shadow stabbed Long Chen like lightning. Boom! Long Chen slapped his big hand, and slapped it heavily on the spear shadow. With a bang, the spear shadow was smashed by Long Chen's palm, and one of Long Chen's hands was already dripping with blood. Long Chen was startled. He was actually injured. It was just a phantom. Long Chen looked carefully at the bone spear in Tianhua's hand. Dragon King's tooth? Long Chen was startled. This long spear turned out to be a magical weapon refined from dragon teeth. It contained the coercion and will of the Dragon Emperor. No wonder this blow was so terrifying that he missed it. Sure enough, there are two tricks, and then take my trick. Tianhua swung the dragon tooth spear in his hand, the sky darkened suddenly, and suddenly a dragon claw appeared above Long Chen's head. Boom! Before Long Chen could react, he was hit by the terrifying dragon claw, and with a bang, the ground was hit by the dragon claw to create a huge crater thousands of miles away. Chapter 5392 The Dragon Claw's surprise attack shocked Shirpadian, Xiaoye and the others exclaimed, and they were about to go to support Long Chen. They thought that Long Chen had been hit hard by a blow. However, as soon as they moved, they were stopped by Tang Weiner. If Long Chen could be injured so easily, he would not be called Long Chen. Boom! The 10,000-mile dragon claw continued to press down, the ground kept trembling, and the surrounding ground slowly bulged, and this claw seemed to crush Long Chen into a meat paste. I really didn't expect that the boat capsized in the gutter today. Yinglong is considered a nobleman among the dragon clan, but I never thought that he would use such a boring trick. Long Chen's voice came from under the ground. What shocked everyone was that Long Chen's voice was very calm, without a trace of haste, without feeling a trace of panic. At that moment, Tianhua's face changed. This is just a trivial test. Since you want to reincarnate so quickly, I will make it possible for you. Tianhua shouted angrily, and the destiny roulette behind his back opened, and a primordial Yinglong appeared inside the roulette, and the mighty power of the dragon soared into the sky. Boom! The size of the dragon claw that fell from the sky suddenly doubled, and its violent pressure increased several times. This is your limit? But that's it, the Qilong fights, open. Long Chen stopped drinking, and the loud and clear sound of dragon chant resounded through the 9 heavens and 10 earths, piercing through the eternal fairy vault, and the sacred dragon power radiated for a moment. Boom! With a bang, the heaven-shrouding dragon claw exploded. Long Chen was wearing a red dragon scale battle armor. A red cloak moved with the wind on his back. His long hair was flying, and his eyes were like lightning. When he opened and closed, there was a faint dragon. The tattoo is flickering. At this time, Long Chen, like the Dragon Emperor descended into the world, stands on the world of mortals, sacred and noble, making people dare not look directly at him. It was the first time for the hidden dragon warriors to see Long Chen's dragon blood battle body, and it was also the first time in their life to see such a wild and domineering transformation. Unknowingly, their blood was throbbing and their fighting spirit rose. As a noble dragon clan, I don't want to think about how to improve my strength, so I foolishly learned to conspire and hurt. It seems that the Yinglong clan has been completely brainwashed into idiots by Brahma Pill Valley. Long Chen looked at Ying Tianhua and said indifferently. Long Chen looked around, but he didn't see Yi Linfeng and other strong people, which made him feel very strange. In fact, Yi Linfeng and others thought the same as most people, thinking that once Long Chen and others entered the Wind Field battlefield, will run away immediately. After all, there is a huge difference in numbers and strength, and it is impossible for them to fight head-on with everyone. Therefore, they divide into several groups and enter the Wind Field battlefield from different directions. In such a large-scale search, there will always be a team that can encounter the hidden dragon army. But most of the teams felt that as long as they were fast enough, they could bite the tail of the Hidden Dragon Legion. Therefore, most of the strong came after the Hidden Dragon Legion's footprints. Yi Linfeng and other smart people brought their teams to enter from other places, which is why Long Chen didn't find Yi Linfeng and others. Shut up, you dirty human race. What qualifications do you have to judge the great Yinglong clan? Ying Tianhua shouted angrily. The bone spear pierced the sky. A white sharp blade cut open the void and went straight to Long Chen. Facing the white sharp blade, Long Chen didn't dodge it. He opened his big hand and slapped it. At the same time, he said coldly, "The Dragon Clan is great, but this greatness has nothing to do with your Yinglong clan." Boom! With a bang on Long Chen's palm, the blood-colored dragon pattern flowed, and it was slapped on the white sharp blade, and the white sharp blade burst into pieces. I bear the blood of the Emperor Dragon. I am your emperor. You are just a courtier. How dare you not kneel when you see me? Long Chen stood with his hands behind his back, looking at Ying Tianhua coldly. Ying Tianhua's lungs were about to explode. He roared angrily. The Emperor Dragon Clan has fallen, and they can't take care of themselves. How can there be a king or emperor? Besides, do princes and generals care about each other? The title of the Emperor Dragon Clan is just a matter of luck. Anyone with that kind of luck can sit in that position. Now my Yinglong clan has unprecedented strength, far surpassing the ancient times, created unprecedented brilliance, and has the strength to replace it. Not to mention you are a small human race. Even if you are really a descendant of the Dilong clan, you have no right to be arrogant in front of me. Boom! Ying Tianhua stepped into the void, and he rushed towards Long Chen like a bolt of lightning, stabbing with the keel spear in his hand. Thousands of roads roared, and the dragon chanted loudly. Create brilliance? Did you create it yourself, or did you get it by begging for mercy? If you didn't have the support of Brahma Pill Valley, would you have the current strength? The Yinglong clan has completely disappeared. You are no longer the Dragon Clan, but a group of dogs without backbones. Boom! Long Chen was talking in his mouth, but his hands were not slow at all. He punched fiercely and fought hard with Ying Tianhua's keel spear. Amidst the explosion, Long Chen retreated a few steps. With blood dripping from his fist, he blocked the blow from the bone spear, and his hand was bruised from the shock. Although he was injured, Long Chen didn't care at all because the long gun was made by the Dragon King's teeth. It was unparalleled in sharpness, and it also integrated the Dragon King's divine power and will, comparable to the Demon Emperor's magic weapon. Don't dare to kill me? Is it because I am afraid that I will be killed, and there is no way to explain to the silver-haired King Kong? Long Chen watched the wound on his hand recover slowly, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Ying Tianhua didn't use all his strength for this blow, and Long Chen clearly felt that he was controlling the power of the keel spear. If I didn't want to save your life, you would already be a corpse. However, even if I can't kill you, I will destroy your eyes and tear your mouth apart. Ying Tianhua suddenly made a seal with his left hand, and the figure of Ying Long in the vision behind him trembled. He broke free from the shackles of the destiny roulette, enlarged infinitely, and covered the entire sky in an instant. Dragon's realm, Ying Tianhua stopped drinking. The endless divine splendor between heaven and earth fell down, forming a 10,000 li domain, which enveloped Long Chen like a dome. At that moment, Long Chen suddenly felt his whole body tense, and the space froze. At the same time, Long Chen found that his dragon blood began to leak slightly, and this domain was actually extracting Long Chen's dragon blood. No, this is not the domain of dragons, but the domain of dogs. The Great Dragon Clan will not do such stealthy things. Long Chen shook his head. Ying Tianhua's dragon domain is very powerful, and it is an untold secret of the Ying Long clan, even against the strong members of the God Dragon clan. Originally, with his dragon domain, even if he meets the masters of the Emperor Dragon clan, he will have the power to fight, because in this domain, any strong dragon clan will be absorbed by the domain once they use the power of dragon blood. This is a special supernatural power specially restrained by dragon powerhouses. You can't move, right? I see how hard your mouth can be. Ying Tianhua sneered, and his figure flickered. In the dragon's domain, he could fly freely like a fish, and he was in front of Long Chen in an instant. Snapped, however, before he could move, Long Chen waved his hand, drawing a beautiful arc in the void, and slapped him hard on the face. Chapter 5393 Long Chen's shots were like lightning, and Ying Tianhua was sent flying by a slap just as he rushed in front of Long Chen. Ying Tianhua is extremely confident in this move, even to the point of conceit. This move is the supernatural power of the Ying Long clan. If you are facing a foreign race, the vast dragon's power will freeze the opponent's blood and make you unable to move. If the opponent is a dragon, the unique power of the domain will quickly drain the opponent's blood. The more he struggles, the faster the blood will be lost until the blood is exhausted. It can be said that this move is a super magic technique of the Ying Long clan, and it is also effective against the Tianjiao of the Dilong clan. Long Chen is just a human race. Even if he bears dragon blood, how much can he control? From the moment the dragon domain was summoned, Ying Tianhua thought that everything was over. However, what he didn't expect was that the dragon blood in Long Chen's body did not come from the Emperor Dragon clan, but from the legendary Chaos Dragon Emperor. Although his dragon domain is also effective on Long Chen, but this effect is neither painful nor itchy. At this speed, even if Ying Tianhua is given 100 years, he will not be able to drain Long Chen's dragon blood power. I told you, yours is not the domain of the dragon at all. The Ying Long family has become a dog with a broken spine. How can this move defeat me? Long Chen slapped Ying Tianhua. Fei did not take advantage of the victory to pursue, and said lightly. At the same time, Long Chen's mind has always been on the Hidden Dragon Legion. Long Chen found that the more pressure the Hidden Dragon Legion faces today, the stronger its fighting ability will be. Even though the enemies were like raging waves, the Hidden Dragon Legion still came and went. Wherever the sword passed, no one could stop them, and the enemies fell in pieces. Even Tang Weiner never made a move. Seeing this scene, Long Chen was completely relieved. The progress of the Hidden Dragon Legion was faster than he had imagined. As long as they were not facing superpowers, Long Chen didn't need to worry about their safety at all. After all, with the support of Long Chen, the Hidden Dragon Legion has all kinds of resources such as pills and spirit crystals, and even with the help of the mysterious treasure of the 7-treasure glazed glass tree, if it is still not strong, it will be really unreasonable. Ying Tianhua was furious. He originally wanted to trap Long Chen with the dragon domain, and capture Long Chen alive immediately. He didn't care about Long Chen's life. What he cared about was the sacred emperor's blood in Long Chen's body. Before Lin Feng and others arrived, they got the emperor's blood. However, he underestimated the power of Long Chen, and was slapped. The haughty Ying Tianhua became furious for a moment. The dragon blood burned all over his body, the fate will trembled, the dragon's domain disappeared, and Ying Long Phantom returned again. In the destiny roulette, the keel spear in his hand burst into endless flames, lit up the sky, and stabbed at Long Chen. This time, he didn't hold back anymore. Even if he accidentally killed Long Chen, he didn't care anymore. If he didn't go all out, he felt that he was going to be blown up. Cloud Dragon offers claws. Facing the blow from the keel spear, Long Chen didn't dare to catch it with his bare hands. He broke his body and struck out with one claw. From the divine ring behind him, the claws of the shrouding dragon came out. Boom! The dragon claw slapped Ying Tianhua, and there was a loud bang, and the Zhetian dragon claw was pierced by Ying Tianhua's keel spear, but Ying Tianhua spat out a mouthful of blood. Although relying on the power of the keel spear to shatter Long Chen's move, the endless power of dragon blood has already displaced his internal organs. Teach, even if you have a magic weapon in hand, it's nothing more than that. Long Chen sneered, turned around, and flung his foot like a whip. Dragon wagging tail, Long Chen stopped drinking, his legs whizzed, and a 1,000-mile dragon tail, like a whip of a god, was drawn into the world of mortals, and the force of sweeping it made thousands of roads roar. Ying Tianhua was stunned by Long Chen's blow, and before he recovered, the dragon's tail had already drawn in front of him, and the terrifying coercion had already made his hair stand on end. Although the power of Long Chen's dragon blood has not changed much, but because of the improvement of his realm and the transformation of Yaoshi Star Crystal, Long Chen's own power has been greatly improved. This kind of improvement made the power of the dragon's blood rise accordingly, and the power of this blow was many times stronger than before. Ying Tianhua yelled angrily, and before he had time to adjust the keel spear in his hand, he stabbed out. Boom! With a bang, the keel spear was extremely sharp, piercing through the void, and piercing through the huge shadow of the dragon's tail, but it couldn't smash the dragon's tail, and was still hit by the dragon's tail. Puff! Ying Tianhua spat out a mouthful of blood again, and the blood was mixed with pieces of internal organs. This blow severely injured him. Ying Tianhua is very powerful, but the dragon blood in Long Chen's body comes from the Chaos Dragon Emperor and has the will of the Dragon Emperor. Corresponding to Tianhua's restraint is very strong, and the damage is also very large. Ying Tianhua was also unlucky. Tianjiao, who was originally proud of his peers, was beaten to the point of blood spurting after 2 moves. Ying Tianhua knew that if he went on like this, he would suffer a big loss. He stepped on the void, and his body retreated rapidly, trying to distance himself from Long Chen to gain a chance to breathe. As a result, the moment he stepped back, the keel spear in his hand trembled suddenly, and then he heard Long Chen's hateful voice, "Bring it to you." Ying Tianhua's big hands trembled, and he had retreated thousands of miles away, but his hands were empty, and the keel spear had disappeared. Surprised and angry, he looked forward and saw that the keel spear was already in Long Chen's hands. Long Chen held the keel spear and shook it twice and said, "Kid, don't play with such a dangerous thing. Lest you hurt yourself, I'll help you put it away." With a wave of his hand, Long Chen directly put the spear into the chaotic space. This white bone spear is made of the teeth of the Dragon Emperor. Although it is not a real soldier of the God Emperor, but because of the natural god pattern on it, coupled with its unparalleled sharpness and invincibility, its power is quite amazing. The owner of this dragon tooth is not from the Yinglong clan, so Ying Tianhua has no ability to refine it and can only use its most basic power. However, even the most basic strength is quite astonishing. He injured Long Chen twice in a row. If he can really control the bone spear completely, Long Chen probably has no choice but to escape. Originally, Long Chen planned to throw the bone spear directly into the black soil of the chaotic space to decompose, but when he felt the strong will and the terrifying rune power in the spear, Long Chen changed his mind, because the figure of Gu Yang appeared in his mind. Perhaps this long spear can exert its greatest power in Gu Yang's hands. "Give me back my sharp gun." Seeing that Long Chen took away the bone spear, Ying Tianhua became anxious. It is one of the treasures of the Yinglong clan. Although he can use it, it does not belong to him. If it is lost, the responsibility will be great. Ying Tianhua roared furiously, and the phantom of Yinglong behind him instantly merged with it, and Ying Tianhua spat out another mouthful of blood. His aura erupted like a volcano. He actually used self-mutilation in exchange for several times the power increase. and punched the dragon dust smashed. That's right. Everyone doesn't use weapons, it's a fair fight. Seeing that Ing Tianhua's aura soared and his blood chi soared to the sky, Long Chen also moved and rushed towards Ing Tianhua. Chapter 5394 Boom! The dragon chant shook the sky, blood filled the air, and Long Chen and Ing Tianhua collided fiercely, bursting out with a rumbling divine sound, losing Ing Tianhua's bone dragon spear, and instead became even more terrifying. Because of the loss of the bone dragon spear, he was completely anxious. At this time, he could no longer care about Long Chen's life and death. He just wanted to get back his bone spear. Boom, boom, boom. The fists of the two were flying, and the sharp claws split the sky. Every collision was a world-shattering collision of dragon blood power, and every collision was a world-shattering explosion. Buzz! Ing Tianhua began to desperately, ripples swept across the sky, and flames rose all over his body. It was a blood-burning technique. He did not hesitate to burn his blood and release visions in pursuit of greater power. The crazy fierce battle between the two changed the color of the situation, the ground continued to crack and collapse, and the terrifying death ripples continued to spread in all directions. The Hidden Dragon Legion had no choice but to continue to retreat, keeping as far away from their battlefield as possible, so as not to be affected by their terrifying power. At this time, the Hidden Dragon Warriors really saw the strength of Long Chen, and they realized at this moment how strong Long Chen was, and those so-called gods and goddesses were nothing worth mentioning in front of him. Give me back the bone dragon spear. Ing Tianhua roared, all kinds of supernatural powers hit like a violent storm, it was like crazy. Boom! Facing the onslaught of Ing Tianhua, Long Chen felt great pressure. Although Long Chen was carrying the blood essence of the Chaos Dragon Emperor, the grade of blood essence was too low, and it was so thin. And Ing Tianhua is a dragon clan himself, and he burned his life essence and blood, released the power of vision, and desperately increased his strength. Long Chen was too disadvantaged to fight against him with the power of dragon blood alone. Although Long Chen's dragon blood power is not strong enough, but Long Chen's combat experience is extremely rich, especially in close combat. Long Chen is not afraid of anyone. Boom! Ing Tianhua yelled distractedly, but the bridge of his nose was punched by Long Chen, his nose bleeds and tears burst out. He was so angry that he howled hysterically and launched a frenzied attack. Long Chen fought bloody battles with him, and finally tested the limit of his dragon blood power. His dragon blood power was like a steel wire, while Ing Tianhua's power was like a grass rope. The same thickness as a hair, the steel wire is many times stronger than the grass rope, but when the hemp rope is hundreds of feet thick, and the steel wire is still hair-like, Long Chen's advantage is gone. Long Chen deliberately tested the power of his own dragon blood. He didn't use any other powers. Except for the fist and kick techniques, he just used Yunlong's claws and Shunlong's tail in different ways. Although it was only 2 moves in Long Chen's hands, changing boundless, still killing Ing Tianhua in an extremely embarrassing manner, he clearly had the upper hand, but he was still unable to suppress Long Chen. Ing Tianhua obviously felt that he was much stronger than Long Chen, but he couldn't beat him. He gritted his teeth. His face was ferocious, anxious, and angry. He can't last long in this state. Once the dragon's blood burns to a certain extent, he must stop, otherwise, it will hurt the source, which will affect his Tao foundation and even affect the upper limit of future cultivation. What made him most angry and helpless was that Long Chen fought him hundreds of moves at the beginning, but now he no longer fought against him. Obviously, Long Chen, who couldn't fight him, chose to delay tactics. As soon as he vented his energy, Long Chen would launch a storm-like attack. At that time, he would never have a chance to win again. It's a man, let's fight hard. Ing Tianhua roared angrily. Snapped. As a result, when he opened his mouth, he was slapped again. You are a dog, don't speak as a man. Long Chen said coldly. What? Ing Tianhua was so angry that his voice became hoarse, and the corner of his mouth overflowed with blood, which was not beaten by Long Chen, but bitten by himself. His anger can no longer be described in words. Boom, boom, boom. Ying Tianhua was still crazily charging, but Long Chen didn't fight him head-on, 5 points for dodging and 4 points for defense, and he only attacked once in a while, but once he attacked, he would definitely point at Ying Tianhua's vital points, forcing him to rush and attack. The rhythm was interrupted for an instant. Although Ying Tianhua is powerful, his battle experience obviously cannot be compared with Long Chen's. The whole battle rhythm is led by Long Chen's nose. Ying Tianhua, you are such an idiot. As long as you attack these girls, he will have to fight you hard. Just then a voice came. Long Chen saw that it was a demon strongman. This group of guys dispersed to hunt down the hidden dragon legion. After a long circle, they finally came back. This person was the first one. Go away, you are the idiot, you are an idiot. Ying Tianhua roared, and suddenly his figure flickered, like a flash of lightning rushing towards the hidden dragon army in the distance. Although he scolded that person, his body was very honest. This was indeed a clever trick to force Long Chen to fight with him. However, the moment he rushed towards the hidden dragon legion, Long Chen stepped forward, and the stars under his feet flowed, appearing behind him. What? Long Chen's step was extremely weird, appearing behind Ying Tianhua as if teleporting. At that moment, Ying Tianhua and the demon powerhouse exclaimed at the same time. Ying Tianhua was horrified. Before he made a move, he prevented Long Chen from sneaking in. After repelling Long Chen, he rushed towards the hidden dragon army in an upside-down manner. Unexpectedly, this step of Long Chen seemed to have crossed the shackles of space, and just appeared behind Ying Tianhua. Ying Tianhua was so frightened that he was scared out of his wits, roared, turned around in a hurry, and punched Long Chen fiercely. However, what he did was in vain. Long Chen's big hand was already on his back, and at the same time he said coldly, I didn't want to use this trick to kill you, but I thought it would be too flattering to use it to kill you. Emperor's Blood Seal, Cross Destroyer God. Long Chen stopped drinking, and the bloody 10 appeared on his big hand. Puff, Long Chen's palm imprinted hard on Ying Tianhua's back. Ying Tianhua's protective light was instantly pierced, and the dragon scales of the protective body were as weak as paper, unable to block the blow at all. The bloody light during the splash, the part below Ying Tianhua's shoulders and above his waist exploded into blood mist instantly. Everyone was stunned at that moment, especially those strong men from the Yinglong clan who came with Ying Tianhua saw this scene. Their faces were all as pale as paper, and their eyes were full of disbelief. The hidden dragon warriors were also stunned. They saw Ying Tianhua's horror and Long Chen being suppressed by him. They wanted to solve the enemy in front of them as soon as possible and go to support Long Chen, but they didn't expect that Long Chen reversed instantly. War situation. Go with peace of mind. In the next life, don't be a traitor again. Puff, Long Chen pointed out that Ying Tianhua, who had just been severely injured, still had the will of the Emperor's blood mark in his body, and he could not move at all. He could only watch helplessly as Long Chen pierced his brow with his finger, and then everything fell into darkness. Ying Tianhua was killed, and countless people were shocked. At this moment, there was a burst of applause, followed by Yi Linfeng's voice. Very good, I have 2 strokes, such a strong opponent, I like it. Chapter 5395 Ying Tianhua was killed, everyone was shocked, but Yi Linfeng in the distance stood there quietly, looking at everything in front of him indifferently. In fact, he had come a long time ago, but he didn't show up, but watched quietly in the dark. He is a very conceited person. If Long Chen's strength is too low, he would not bother to deal with him personally. When Long Chen shot to kill Ying Tianhua, he was amazed by the blow. At this moment he turned from darkness to light and appeared in front of everyone. Ying Tianhua was killed, his body transformed from a human into a giant dragon, and was directly thrown into the chaotic space by Long Chen. Long Chen turned his head to look at Yi Linfeng. Long Chen was not surprised at his appearance, because Long Chen had already sensed him when he arrived. The reason why Long Chen didn't go all out to deal with Ying Tianhua was because of 2 reasons. One was that Ying Tianhua was a traitor of the Dragon Clan. Long Chen didn't want to use other tricks to kill him. Only by killing him with the power of the dragon would it be considered as clearing the door. The other reason is that Yi Linfeng is peeping in the dark. This is a very powerful opponent. Long Chen's perception can't figure out his bottom line. This kind of situation is rare in Long Chen's life, so he has to be cautious. If you try to save him, you won't be afraid. If you lose a helper, will you die in my hands? Long Chen looked at Yi Linfeng and said, apart from having a good weapon, he is useless in other places. This kind of person is not qualified to be my helper. In addition, I don't need any help to deal with you, because you can't defeat me, my strength is beyond your imagination. Yi Linfeng looked at Long Chen with confidence in his eyes. When Yi Linfeng appeared, those strong men who besieged the hidden dragon army stopped their attacks and retreated. On the surface, they retreated because of Yi Linfeng's appearance, showing their respect to Yi Linfeng. In fact, they were terrified of being killed by the hidden dragon army just now, and now the ground is full of corpses. No matter how they charge, they still cannot break through the formation of the hidden dragon army. Beheaded, they were all afraid. Now that Yi Linfeng appeared, they had a step to retreat, and they all retreated to Yi Linfeng's side, as if they were looking forward to Yi Linfeng's horse. In fact, they wanted to see how Yi Linfeng would kill Long Chen and others. Everyone retreated, and the Hidden Dragon Legion also stood behind Long Chen. At this time, the two sides looked very calm, but everyone knew that this was the calm before the storm, and the bloody smell in the air indicated that this battle will be an endless, decisive battle. Long Chen took a look at the Hidden Dragon Legion. Only 2 people were injured, but the injuries were not serious, and they had already taken the elixir, and they were recovering quickly, which did not affect the overall combat effectiveness. Long Chen looked at Yi Linfeng and said, "You are very confident. Coincidentally, I am also very confident. However, in today's battle, it seems that one person will lose in the end. I think the loser must be you." Haha, I like confident opponents, and I especially like to see the despair in their eyes when they lose. You know, how much I hope that someone at the same level can defeat me and let me taste the taste of failure. Yi Linfeng laughed loudly. Then congratulations, today you will be able to fulfill your wish. Long Chen smiled slightly. Really? Then I'm looking forward to it. Yi Linfeng walked out slowly, waved his big hand, and said to everyone, "Stay back, you don't need to do anything, you just need to open your eyes, pray with your heart, pray that Long Chen is strong enough, because only when he is strong enough, you can see my true strength." Ilgo, you're bragging about this awesomeness, it's almost limitless. Long Chen looked at Tang Weiner and the others and said, "You also stand back and watch my performance quietly, admiring your brother Long Chen's peerless demeanor. Today, I want to use my strength to tell them who is the king of this world." Tang Weiner was a little worried about Long Chen, but hearing what Long Chen said, she almost couldn't help laughing. At that moment, all the worries in her heart disappeared. Tang Weiner led the crowd back slowly, leaving enough room for Long Chen to fight. Seeing Long Chen's unrestrained figure, Tang Weiner felt tenderness in her heart. At this moment, Long Chen, even standing on the ground for 9 days and 10 days, on the stage, it is still so dazzling. He is the protagonist of this world, no one can take away his halo, he is the undefeated god of war, no one can break his undefeated myth. Your self-confidence is very unfounded. Is it just relying on your half-baked dragon blood power? Forget it, just show your strongest strength directly, otherwise, you will regret it for life. Yi Linfeng walked towards Long Chen step by step. Every time he took a step, his aura rose a lot. When he took 3 steps, the aura had already made the heaven and the earth roar, and the 10,000 roads shook, and the violent aura was almost the same as the previous Ying Tianhua. At that moment, everyone was shocked. At that time, Ying Tianhua burned the power of dragon blood, and the vision added to his body, so he had such a terrifying aura, and Yi Linfeng had such a terrifying coercion before he summoned the vision. The power of faith? Long Chen looked at the distorted space around Yi Linfeng and saw the ripples of faith flowing. Long Chen was slightly taken aback. Yi Linfeng's power of faith was extremely solid, and it was the same as the power of faith of other Brahma lineage powerhouses. It's not the same, but Long Chen still can't tell where it's different. That's right, it's the power of faith. This is my power of faith. I am a god, and I am invincible. Do you understand this time? Yi Linfeng said. When Yi Linfeng's words came out, Tang Weiner and the others were shocked. They were all disciples of Feng Shenhage, and they practiced the inheritance of Shinto. They understood what Yi Linfeng meant, but it was because they understood that they were extremely shocked. Yi Linfeng turned out to be a strong conferred god. The so-called conferred god means having his own inheritance, his own believers, his own god of faith, and his own image of faith. When Long Chen heard Yi Linfeng's words, he couldn't help being stunned. The inheritance of Brahma's lineage? Can you confer gods by yourself? Others can't, but my martial god palace can. Stop talking nonsense, let's do it. 3 moves, I only give you 3 chances. If you can't catch my 3 moves, I won't kill you, but I will kill you. Those women in front of you will be torn apart one by one, making your life worse than death. Yi Linfeng said with a gloomy expression. As if afraid that Long Chen would not be able to use all his strength, Yi Linfeng deliberately threatened Long Chen with Tang Weiner and others. Even though he knew Yi Linfeng was deliberately provoking him, Long Chen still couldn't stop his anger from rising. Tang Weiner is his reverse scale. Anyone who threatens Long Chen with her will arouse his strongest killing intent. Long Chen's smile gradually disappears from his face, and his eyes gradually become sharp like a knife. Suddenly, Long Chen's body was dotted with stars, and the radiant divine brilliance illuminated the sky, and a voice resounding like a god's roar resounded through the 9 heavens. 8-star battle body, open. Chapter 5396. The divine ring appears, the battle body is opened, the sea of stars shines on the sky and the earth, and the gods shine brightly. The endless sea of stars behind Long Chen circulated, and 8 sun-like stars formed a huge star ring. At this time, Long Chen, wearing the starry sky battle suit, is like the ruler under the starry sky. He looks down on the 9 heavens. In view of the general environment, this site may be closed at any time. Please move to the permanent source replacement app, Huanyuan app. Calm as soon as possible. At that moment, Tang Weiner was stunned. It was the first time she saw Long Chen's full firepower, and the starlight flowed, making Long Chen even more aloof and handsome. Tang Weiner could tell that Long Chen was angry, and Long Chen's anger was because of her, because Yi Linfeng used her to threaten Long Chen. From the mortal world to the fairy world, Long Chen has always loved her like his life. Whenever someone dares to hurt her, Long Chen will turn into a demon and slaughter the 9 heavens. The hidden dragon warriors, who have seen the dragon blood battle body before, already think that this is the most powerful and gorgeous transformation in the world. However, when the 8-star battle body is opened, watching the endless sea of stars behind Long Chen and the changing starry sky above the 9 heavens, the unrivaled demeanor is no worse than the dragon blood battle body, and the vast coercion is even worse. Are you the descendant of 9 stars? When Long Chen summoned the 8-star battle body, Yi Linfeng's expression changed, and he recognized Long Chen's identity. At this moment, he finally understood why the higher-ups valued Long Chen so much. 9 stars, when the name came out, everyone was shocked. It was a cursed name and a taboo name, but it was a name that everyone knew, or in other words, it was a name that was close to in mythical legends. You shouldn't threaten me, let alone threaten me with the person I love. Long Chen looked at Yi Linfeng, his eyes were icy cold, and the killing intent kept rising, and he couldn't control it even if he wanted to. Perhaps he was deliberately controlling himself, but when Yi Linfeng touched his reverse scale, the anger that had been accumulated for a long time was instantly ignited. Haha, I never thought that I, Yi Linfeng, would meet the legendary 9-star remnant, so let me experience the strength of the 9-star heir. Yi Linfeng laughed loudly. Boom, Yi Linfeng made seals with both hands, and the destiny roulette emerged. There was no pattern or rune in the destiny roulette, it was just blank. But the moment the destiny roulette appeared, people felt the earth tremble suddenly, the vast power of the gods tore apart the myriad ways, and the naked eye could see endless runes of the destiny in the void, converging towards his destiny roulette. All the sons of destiny present were horrified, because they found that not only the power of destiny between heaven and earth was extracted by him, but even their own original power was leaking out. Everyone was scared and hurried away, lest Yi Linfeng's destiny roulette drain their original power. How could this be? Is he an awakening vision? The hidden dragon warriors were astonished. Tang Weiner said, "No, he hasn't awakened, and he won't wake up. Jushian's fate hasn't started to change. No one will try to awaken the vision of destiny. Now for everyone, the most important thing is to condense the dragon energy of the sky and advance to the human emperor." The master said that when the new generation of human emperors in the sky and the earth reaches a certain number, at that time the 9 heavens games will start to change. Time is the best time to awaken the vision. This Yi Linfeng is from Brahma Pill Valley, so it is impossible not to know about this situation. Moreover, his destiny roulette is empty, and he has not summoned a name, so he definitely has no awakening vision. However, why is his destiny aura so terrifying? If we fight against him, we will not be able to absorb the power of destiny from the heaven and earth, and even our own power of destiny will be suppressed. We have no qualifications to fight against him at all. A god the waiter couldn't help but said, "It's nothing. You can see that Brother Long Chen is not even the son of destiny, but his star vision is so terrifying. I believe that Brother Long Chen will definitely win." Xiaoye clenched her fists and said, "Xiaoye has an impulsive personality and has always been Long Chen's most loyal admirer. Her intuition told her that Long Chen was invincible, so no matter what Long Chen said, she never doubted it." Boom! Long Chen's vision of the star sea was circulating, Yi Linfeng's destiny roulette was flickering, and the sacred power on the destiny roulette spread out like a field. When it collided with Long Chen's vision range, the world shook violently. Ka ka ka! The visions of the two clashed, the void exploded, and endless cracks appeared. My God, the space is torn apart. People screamed in horror, looking at the dense black cracks above the void. Their scalps were numb. This hasn't been done yet, just the vision hedging can cause such a terrifying vision. If anyone stands between the two, the power of the vision alone is enough to crush them to death. It's the power of faith. When Yi Linfeng's vision confronted Long Chen's vision, Tang Weiner and the others finally recognized the origin of Yi Linfeng's domain power. That is extremely pure power of faith. No one knows how Yi Linfeng gathered such terrifying power of faith at such a young age. Boom! Yi Linfeng's vision is still expanding, and his aura is still rising. His power of faith seems to be endless, and the vast power of the gods has a tendency to gradually suppress Long Chen. After Long Chen's star sea vision was summoned, it has not changed, and his breath has remained constant, mysterious, and profound. Long Chen's star sea vision is not the same as before. Once the previous star sea vision is summoned, it will release power violently, and it is not under Long Chen's control at all. But now, after the transformation of Yaoshi's star crystal, Long Chen can completely control it. Before it was a wild horse, but now it is a tamed lion. This is the strength of the descendants of the 9 stars? If this is the case, I will be too disappointed. Seeing that Long Chen's vision remained unchanged, Yi Linfeng said with a hint of contempt in his tone. Long Chen didn't speak, and he was like a statue of a god, motionless. However, on the starry sky suit on his body, the starlight kept flickering, and the flickering frequency became faster and faster. When the starry sky battle suit flickered, some star spots appeared on the meridians in Long Chen's body, and these star spots were also flickering, and the flickering frequency was exactly the same as the starry sky battle suit. It's not that Long Chen doesn't want to move, but he can't move. What he didn't expect was that when he entered the fighting state, his meridians began to awaken himself, or in other words, it could be a self-warming up. At this time, Long Chen couldn't move. As the star spots in the meridians kept flickering, a series of stars appeared on Long Chen's meridians, and there were silk threads like spider webs connecting the star spots. At that moment, Long Chen felt that his meridians became firmer. It's also tough, and its strength is still increasing crazily. Long Chen did not expect that the current 8-star battle body is no longer the previous 8-star battle body, and has become stronger and more terrifying. Buzz! Seeing Long Chen's starry sky battle suit flickering frantically, Yi Linfeng felt something was wrong at that moment, stretched out a finger, and pointed towards Long Chen. Laugh, regardless of the space distance, a sharp blade pointed directly at the center of Long Chen's eyebrows, and the sword came out at an extremely fast speed. All the strong people present exclaimed. They had never seen such a fast attack, and it was too fast to dodge. Chapter 5397 Laugh. That attack was a translucent sharp sword, so fast that the naked eye couldn't catch it, but everyone who saw the sharp sword felt a stabbing pain in their souls, as if they were about to be torn apart. The sharp sword pierced Long Chen's forehead in an instant, but Long Chen didn't respond at all. Amidst the exclamation of countless people, it directly pierced Long Chen's forehead. At that moment, Tang Weiner was so frightened that her heart was in her throat. Long Chen didn't even try to avoid the sharp sword, and let the sharp sword pass through the center of her eyebrows. People watched the sharp sword pass through Long Chen's eyebrows, but Long Chen was safe and sound. At that moment, everyone was stunned. Could it be a false move? No way? Boom! After the sharp sword passed through the center of Long Chen's eyebrows, he continued to gallop through the void of thousands of miles, and suddenly there was a loud explosion, and a huge hole was pierced in the sky. What? People were astonished. This sword was not a false move. When the sharp sword passed through the void, it pierced the void. It was because its power was concentrated at the beginning, pursuing the ultimate speed. However, after flying a certain distance, the power began to gradually disperse. There was a scene of the void exploding. At that moment, people were all dumbfounded. What's going on? If it's not a false move, why can it pass through Long Chen's head without hurting him? What's going on here? Xiaoye was also dumbfounded. Hidden by Long Chen. Tang Weiner said, "How is this possible? Brother Long Chen didn't move at all." Xiaoye said in surprise. "He moved, but he moved too fast and too small, so it looked as if we hadn't moved." Tang Weiner explained. In fact, Tang Weiner was also dumbfounded at the time, but she later analyzed Long Chen's movements. However, Long Chen not only moved fast, but also seemed to have the interference of the power of space to complete such an astonishing dodge. 3 tricks? Is this the first trick? Long Chen looked at Yi Linfeng, with faint stars appearing in his eyes. At this moment he finally completed the warm-up of the meridians. Forget it, anyway, to kill you, it only takes one move. Seeing that Long Chen dodged his blow like a ghost, but Yi Linfeng still didn't care, he still had absolute confidence. Then let me see what your move looks like. Ka ka ka. After Long Chen finished speaking, he shook his head slowly, moving his muscles and bones, and the bones all over his body creaked. Long Chen found that after the warm-up of the meridians was completed, the power of the stars was running more and more smoothly. Corner. Suddenly Long Chen moved. At the moment of Long Chen's movement, there was an extra Long Chen in front of Yi Linfeng. People exclaimed, "Why did 2 Long Chen appear all of a sudden? The one in place is an afterimage." Someone shouted, At this time, Long Chen had already punched Yi Linfeng fiercely. Above the fist, the power of the stars flowed across the void, as if there was a silver light arc falling. Long Chen shot like lightning, and the speed was almost the same as Yi Linfeng's previous blow. When people reacted, Long Chen's fist was only 1 foot away from Yi Linfeng's face. Boom! There was a bang, the void was disillusioned, the whole world suddenly went dark, and the law of 10,000 Dao began to become chaotic because of this blow. All the powerhouses present felt their hearts constrict, as if they were squeezed by someone's hand. Almost spat out a mouthful of blood. People were amazed that the power of Long Chen and Yi Linfeng was real and not empty, gathered together but never scattered, and did not leak out, even without seeing the waves and strong winds, but almost severely injured everyone. People saw that Long Chen's fist hit Yi Linfeng's arm, the fists and arms intersected, the universe trembled, their long hair fluttered, and their breath gushed out, straight up to the sky. Catch it! People were horrified. Before Yi Linfeng attacked Long Chen easily dodged it. Now that Long Chen fought back, Yi Linfeng easily blocked it. As a practitioner, when watching a battle, he can't help substituting himself into the battlefield. He often thinks, if this move is aimed at him, how to break it and how to resist it. However, they found that whether it was Yi Linfeng's attack or Long Chen's counterattack, it made no difference to them. They had only one result, which was to be killed with one blow. They couldn't react at this speed. Buzz! The two men met each other with fists and arms, and their eyes were facing each other. Everyone's eyes contained endless fighting intent. Obviously, they both saw each other's terror and knew that they had encountered a strong enemy. At this moment, the strength of the two began to go crazy, rising. Long Chen's sea of stars began to flow rapidly, and his aura gushed out like a tsunami, and Yi Linfeng did the same. On the destiny roulette behind him, thousands of light clusters emerged, and each light cluster began to burn. His breath was like a volcano. Gushes out. Boom! With a bang, the ground under the two of them suddenly collapsed and turned into nothingness. Boom! Immediately afterwards, the void exploded, and cracks like spider webs spread to thousands of miles high in an instant, and the entire sky seemed like glass about to shatter. Hui Feng and Chang, seeing this scene, Tang Weiner was startled and hastily issued an order, following her orders. Boo! A strange sound sounded, and a circle of light spread from between Long Chen and Yi Linfeng in all directions. The circle of light was not unusual at first, but after leaving a certain range, it suddenly became larger and stronger, and the space was torn apart by it. Torn apart by it, it quickly spread in all directions. No, run away! Someone screamed. Even if they hid this far, it was still not safe, but people's reactions were still too slow, and when they realized something was wrong, the circle of light had spread into a death ripple, killing them in front of them. Puff puff! Some people fled crazily, but they were shocked to find that the space had been distorted. He was already running fast, but he still didn't move. He was swallowed by ripples in an instant, and turned into a blood mist in an instant. Buzz! At this time, the power of Long Chen and Yi Linfeng became stronger and stronger, and the ripples spread, more and more, stronger and stronger, washing away the sky and the earth, and the whole world was trembling crazily. Tang Weiner and the others stood against the wind, like flat boats on the sea, following the turbid current, not fighting against it, fluctuating in the sky, but not in danger. However, those strong people in the distance will be miserable. The weak ones will be wiped out in the first wave. Boom! Suddenly there was a loud noise, and the terrifying ripples hit the barrier on the defensive battlefield. The barrier exploded and turned into billions of runes, and most of the countless barriers collapsed. Tang Weiner and the others, even through the weak barrier, Yi Linfeng and the others were seen. Yi Linfeng, who was outside the barrier, also looked into the barrier with a dull expression on his face. Although he knew that there was bound to be a fierce battle inside, he didn't expect that it would start as soon as he entered, which was too fast. Brahma Pill Valley and other powerhouses also saw this scene at this time, and they were all shocked and angry, because they just saw that their disciples were killed by the terrifying ripples and turned into blood mist. In view of the general environment, this site may be closed at any time. Please move to the permanent source replacement app, Huanyuan app. Come as soon as possible. Boom! With a bang, Long Chen and Yi Linfeng retreated at the same time, and they separated. When Tang Weiner and the others looked at Yi Linfeng, they couldn't help being stunned. Chapter 5398. The hand that Yi Linfeng collided with Long Chen's sleeve burst, revealing an arm guard covered with runes. The arm guard is white and shiny like jade. It looks like an exquisite jewelry, but the runes on the arm guard flow, blooming endless sacred power of faith. I said, how can a person's physical strength be equal to Long Chen's? It turns out that there are divine weapons protecting the body. Looking at the arm guard, Tang Weiner suddenly realized. Although we have been separated from Long Chen for a long time, Tang Weiner has always known that Long Chen's physical strength is the most powerful. Except for Man, Tang Weiner has never seen anyone who can match Long Chen's physical strength. Strong shoulder to shoulder. Boom! The moment the two separated, they rushed towards each other at the same time, like meteors colliding together. The violent force set off a wave of thousands of miles, swallowing the sky, and the enchantment of the distant wind-field battlefield was still shattering one after another. The enchantment of the wind-field battlefield is overlapping, and I don't know how many there are. As long as no one attacks it, this enchantment will not appear, so when Long Chen and others come in, they can sense the enchantment, but they cannot sense it. To the bondage of the enchantment to them. But when the strength reaches a certain level, the barrier begins to appear, and the more barriers are shattered, the more transparent the space will be, and the clearer the vision inside and outside the barrier will be. At this time, people from the outside looked inside, and every plant and tree could be clearly seen. When these people saw the vision of Long Chen, they were all shocked, and they did not expect that they would be able to see the legendary descendant of the 9 stars in their lifetime. Boom, boom, boom. Long Chen waved his fists, the stars were shining brightly, each punch fell, and there were phantoms of galaxies in the sky, and Long Chen's moves were open and closed, powerful and invincible. With every blow, Wan Dao's roar could be heard, as if this world couldn't bear that kind of power and was in danger of being blown up. However, in the face of Long Chen's berserk attack, Yi Linfeng blocked back and forth with his arms, and his shots were like lightning. Every time there is a collision, there will be terrifying ripples leaking out, and every time there will be a collision, there will be ripples spreading. The ripples and ripples are accompanied by endless power of destruction. It is the death domain formed by the explosion of the power of stars and the power of faith. In this field, no one dares to approach as long as they are hit by the ripples, the flesh and blood can't resist it at all, and will instantly turn into powder. People looked at the battle between dragons and tigers in front of them, all of them looked horrified, and they finally saw the true strength of the peerless powerhouse. Although, they also have many top masters from various major forces, but the so-called top can only be referred to within their sect. In front of Long Chen and Yi Linfeng, they are not top at all. They don't even have the qualifications to participate in this level of battle. However, there are also superpowers who stand in the middle of the battlefield, where they are under terrifying pressure. There were only a dozen of them in total, and they were all the leaders of the younger generation of various ethnic groups. Although their strength was not as good as Yi Linfeng, they were almost as good as Ying Tianhua. These dozens of people are very close to the center of the battlefield, but they are not trying to suppress Yi Linfeng, but to use the pressure of the battlefield to stimulate their own fighting instincts, and they cannot waste this great opportunity. In view of the general environment, this site may be closed at any time. Please move to the permanent source replacement app, Huanyuan app. Come as soon as possible. Standing here means that they have also participated in the battle, and the benefits are huge. However, apart from them, no one dares to be so close to the core of the battlefield. Even the Hidden Dragon Legion is standing in the battlefield, but it is a little farther away from the core than them, because it is too close, and the Hidden Dragon warriors cannot bear such a terrifying will crush. Boom, boom, boom. Long Chen and Yi Linfeng fought fiercely, and to everyone's horror, the aura of the two of them not only did not weaken, but rose to a more terrifying height. Are they monsters? The breath is still rising rapidly. Someone exclaimed. The auras of Long Chen and Yi Linfeng are still in the stage of steady improvement, and it seems that they are far from reaching their peak state. Is this still human? Brother Long Chen is too strong. Some hidden dragon warriors clenched their fists, their eyes were full of shock and admiration. At first, they were full of worries about Long Chen. Now, they realized that in Fengshanhai Pavilion, the strength Long Chen showed was just the tip of the iceberg. That's all. Looking at the expressions of admiration on the faces of the hidden dragon warriors, Tang Weiner felt a strong sense of pride in her heart. At this time, Long Chen, wearing a starry sky battle suit and shining stars, reflected his arrogance, dominance, and handsomeness. I don't know why, but she just likes Long Chen's rebellious appearance, which is very mysterious and dangerous, but it can also give people a fatal temptation, and she is willing to get close to him. Heir of the 9 stars? Hee hee, that's all it is, just a few tricks to come and go. Are you at the end of your skills? Yi Linfeng suddenly sneered. Boom! With a loud bang, Long Chen and Yi Linfeng made another reckless move, and the two retreated at the same time, facing each other across the air. At this moment, The ground beneath their feet had disappeared, turning into an abyss with no bottom to be seen. The surrounding space was constantly distorted, and the law had been destroyed. But when people looked at the two, they found that they were not blushing, out of breath, and did not look tired at this time. Such a high-intensity battle did not seem to consume them too much. How many tricks? Before Long Chen could speak, Tang Weiner yelled loudly in the distance. Before, Yi Linfeng said that Long Chen could be killed within 3 moves. How many moves have passed now? However, Yi Linfeng was unmoved by Tang Weiner's slap in the face and said indifferently, "The 3 moves I mentioned are real killer moves, not this kind of boring temptation, right?" After Yi Linfeng finished speaking, he looked at Long Chen, who moved his shoulders, twisted his neck, nodded and said, "It's whatever you say it is. Anyway, you are from the Brahma lineage and I am from the Jiuxing lineage. We are all born enemies of fate. As long as we fight, it is a life and death duel. It is meaningless to talk about those things. It seems that you are already a little impatient, and I have already warmed up, so can we really start?" When Long Chen's words fell, all the powerhouses were in an uproar. What? Warm up? A battle of this level is actually just a warm-up? People couldn't believe their ears, even the hidden dragon warriors were all stunned, some couldn't believe their ears. Yi Linfeng's eyes lit up. "So, do you have other tricks? Let me tell you, the legendary descendant of the 9 stars shouldn't be so weak. Because at this time, you can't bear my full blow. If you miss and kill you, I won't be able to go back to the business." Long Chen looked at Yi Linfeng and said lightly, "I hope what you say comes from your self-confidence, not from your stupidity." Long Chen opened his left hand, and a rune lit up. The moment the rune lit up, a star in the sea of stars above Long Chen's head went out instantly. And the moment the star went out, a star the size of a baby's fist appeared in Long Chen's left hand. Snapped, Long Chen's left hand shook, the star disappeared, and then he saw a ray of divine light, which penetrated from Long Chen's left hand to his right hand through his arm. And Long Chen's right hand was already aimed at Yi Linfeng. At that moment, the pride on Yi Linfeng's face disappeared and was replaced by shock. The star shot out from Long Chen's right hand, and at the same time Long Chen stopped drinking. 1 star god falls. Chapter 5399 Long Chen pushed out with a palm, and the star shot out. This blow was exactly the trick he learned secretly from the 9-star disciple during the 9-star trial. It's just that this trick is a bit different, because Long Chen has never learned this trick, but Long Chen can use his own method to simulate this trick. In the past, although Long Chen had simulated tricks, he didn't dare to use them because his star power was too stagnant and belonged to the most primitive primary stage. And this supernatural power requires a certain degree of control over the power of the stars before it can be used, otherwise it is easy to hurt yourself. Long Chen had already comprehended these tricks, but suffered from insufficient control over the power of the stars, so he could only sigh. Now, with the help of Yaoshi Xingjing, his comprehension of the power of the stars has reached an extremely high level, and his control of the power of the stars has also advanced by leaps and bounds, meeting the conditions to display it. But Long Chen knew that he was unlucky, so he still didn't dare to use it rashly. He had been circulating the power of the stars, allowing the power of the stars to circulate in his body for countless cycles. The problem of the slow update of new chapters has finally been solved on the app that can change the source. Download the Huanyuan app. Com Source Change app here, and view the latest chapters of this book on multiple sites at the same time. 1-star meteor god is a supernatural power condensed from the star runes with the help of the power of the stars above the 9 heavens. When the power of the stars emerges from Long Chen's left hand, it shoots out from the right hand. In fact, it is a superposition of strength and speed. When it appears in the left hand, it is just an ordinary star, but the moment it flies out of Long Chen's right hand, it was endowed with life, soul, and will. At the beginning, Long Chen suffered a lot from this trick. Now Long Chen has used it. Boom, a small star is only the size of a baby's fist, but its power is destructive. Yi Linfeng folded his arms together to form a shield to resist, but there was a loud explosion, and his arms were shaken open. There were dense cracks on it. Dumb thump. Yi Linfeng retreated 7 steps in a row, and the moment he stabilized his figure in the 7th step, a mouthful of blood spurted out wildly. Is Yi Linfeng injured? People were shocked. The two had been fighting evenly before, but now, they were injured by one blow. Seeing Yi Linfeng vomit blood, the female warriors of the Hidden Dragon Legion burst into applause. Long Chen's blow was so handsome and domineering. A bit sour, Long Chen didn't continue to shoot, but looked at his palm with doubt in his eyes. Under the 7-treasure glazed tile tree, Long Chen had performed countless times of this move. Logically speaking, it should be easy to catch. However, there is still a certain gap between theory and practice. When the star passed through Long Chen's body, after the blessing of speed and strength, Long Chen obviously felt that the power of the star became a little stagnant. Although this sluggishness is only a trace, the so-called difference is thousands of miles away. This sluggishness greatly reduces the power of this move, otherwise the power of this attack should be several times stronger. However, even so, this blow still amazed everyone. This move was too terrifying. Ha ha ha. Yi Linfeng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed. Okay, great, this is the opponent I want, ha. The more Yi Linfeng laughed, the more excited he became, and the more he laughed, the stronger his fighting spirit became. Suddenly his arms shook, and the endless spots on the destiny roulette behind him glowed with golden radiance. His arm guard was originally cracked by Long Chen's blow, but the golden divine brilliance emerged, and the cracked arm guard instantly recovered, returning to its original state. Yi Linfeng looked at Long Chen with a sinister smile on his lips. The power of my faith is formed by combining the power of Yi and Lin. In order for me to become a god, they have already paved the way for me. From ancient times to the present, when I was sleeping, my inheritance has never been broken. There are endless believers, and the power of faith is enough for me to ascend to the position of God Emperor. The power of faith is constant, and I am immortal. Before I fell asleep, in my era, I could no longer find an opponent in the same level. Now that I wake up, who in this world can be my enemy? In front of me, you are just a small ant. Yi Linfeng stood above the void, pointing at Long Chen with one hand, with a wild smile on his face. On the destiny roulette behind him, golden spots flickered non-stop, coating him with a layer of gold. His divine splendor, even the white jade-like arm guards, have also turned into golden arm guards. Boom! With a big wave of Yi Linfeng's hand, he pierced through the void, endless avenue runes fluttered, and ripples emerged from the void one after another. At that moment, everyone was astonished, but with a wave of his hand, it was comparable to a peerless supernatural power, and Yi Linfeng also retained his strength. I'm sorry, I didn't scare you, did I? Did it scare away the confidence you just had? But it doesn't matter, I know you care about that woman very much. Why don't I kill her first so you will have the courage to do it? Yi Linfeng smiled sinisterly. Why do you have to provoke me? Long Chen asked. However, when Long Chen spoke, everyone present was startled, because Long Chen's voice was completely different from before, with a hoarse and murderous intent. The murderous intent penetrated into people's ears, making people's souls tremble uncontrollably, as if the ecstasy messenger from hell was piercing his sharp hooks from their ears into their souls, which made people feel extremely frightened. I just want to have a good fight. It's a matter of life and death. Why do you keep provoking me again and again? Long Chen looked at Yi Linfeng with a gloomy face. This guy is very mean. He keeps provoking him with Tang Weiner, and Long Chen's anger keeps rising, but Long Chen must suppress his anger and maintain a certain level of reason, otherwise, the demons may invade and occupy him at any time. Audiobook. The last time he was controlled by the heart demon, fortunately, the silver-haired King Kong was strong enough, and he should have fought with him to lose both sides, otherwise he might seal Long Chen and take possession of this body. Long Chen didn't want this kind of thing to happen again. He had to be vigilant at all times, and the most likely condition to attract demons was anger, extreme anger. Haha. Yi Linfeng laughed seeing Long Chen fall into anger again. Boom, however, The moment Yi Linfeng laughed, Long Chen roared like a thunder, and the purple air in the sea of stars behind Long Chen burned instantly. People rushed towards Yi Linfeng like lightning. Yi Linfeng saw Long Chen rushing towards him, and he shouted arrogantly, "Be as angry as you want, you ant." At this time, he still did not forget to mock Long Chen, as if making Long Chen angry was his happiest thing. And just as he was mocking, a star appeared in each of Long Chen's hands, and he slammed towards Yi Linfeng. The difference from the first move was that these two stars were twice as large as before. Twin stars flying rainbow. Chapter 5400. Long Chen shouted angrily, and the two stars above his hands flowed and flew out of Long Chen's hands, showing two flying rainbows. The two flying rainbows drew two arcs, one left and one right, and went straight to hit Yi Linfeng. Faced with such a blow, Yi Linfeng instinctively wanted to dodge. However, he was shocked to find that his power of faith had failed, and he couldn't get rid of the lock of the two flying rainbows. This was a phenomenon he had never encountered in his life. God's shield. Yi Linfeng stopped shouting, stretched his hands, and held a shield in his left and right hands to resist the attacks from the left and right respectively. Boom! With a bang, the shield of God shattered. Yi Linfeng snorted. The shield shattered, but it also blocked Long Chen's attack. However, this blow caused a dull pain in his chest. What shocked him the most was that a trace of Long Chen's star power invaded his body, making him extremely uncomfortable. At this time, Yi Linfeng stepped forward suddenly, and phantoms appeared in the void. At this time, he didn't dare to let Long Chen attack, and decided to fight back. "You also take a trick from me," Yi Linfeng shouted loudly, and on the palm of his hand, there was a little golden light, and he suddenly clenched his fist. The void seemed to be crushed by his palm, and there was a loud noise, and then he punched Long Chen violently. The power of one punch crushed the universe, and the vast divine power made everyone dazzled for a while, and at the same time felt the whole body was icy cold. The power of this blow even radiated to them. This was Yi Linfeng's first counterattack, and the first shot was the fiercest lore. Although people felt that Yi Linfeng was very arrogant, they had to admit that he did have the capital of arrogance. This blow, just relying on coercion, can shatter everyone's confidence and crush everyone's will. Facing this blow, there is only despair and surrender. However, in the face of Yi Linfeng's counterattack, Long Chen waved his hands, overlapping them in the void, and the stars were densely covered on his hands, gathering rapidly. Samsung Soul. Long Chen stopped drinking, and a star shot out from the palm of his hand. This star was bigger than the previous ones, and it was already a circle bigger than a normal person's fist. Boom! Yi Linfeng slammed his fist on the star, and thunder erupted. Immediately afterwards, the sky and the earth were disillusioned, fragments of 10,000 runes flew, and the whole world flickered, as if falling into the doomsday. Yi Linfeng shattered Long Chen's star with one punch, and he was so shocked that his blood surged, and his fist hurt like a needle. Just when Yi Linfeng was about to continue attacking, another star had arrived in front of him. What? Yi Linfeng was shocked. He didn't expect that there was a star behind him. He crossed his arms and blocked in front of him. Boom! With a loud bang, Yi Linfeng was thrown backwards. However, the moment Yi Linfeng was blown away, the third star had already arrived in front of him carrying the power of destroying the world. Boom! Yi Linfeng didn't have time to block it. His arms were numb from the shock. The central palace opened wide. The star smashed hard on his chest. The star exploded. Thousands of roads roared, and the endless twisted space swallowed Yi Linfeng. When people saw this scene, they were all horrified. Long Chen's three-hit combo was more terrifying than the first. Even Yi Linfeng suffered a big loss. If he was hit by such a terrifying blow, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. But, in view of the general environment, this site may be closed at any time. Please move to the permanent source replacement app, Huanyuan app. Come as soon as possible. However, Long Chen didn't wait for the distorted space to recover. His hands quickly formed seals, and suddenly the sky was pierced, and 4 beams of star light descended from the sky in 4 directions, sealing the space where Yi Linfeng was. 4-star prisoner. As soon as Long Chen's handprint changed, the 4 pillars of thousands of miles of starlight quickly closed and slammed into each other. The terrifying coercion made all the strong people present feel their scalps go numb. If they were squeezed by them, flesh and blood, doesn't his body turn into nothingness in an instant? Divine flame burning. The moment the 4 pillars of starlight closed, Yi Linfeng let out a thundering roar. Flames were shining all over his body, and a golden crown was placed on his head. With him as the center, a golden field spread rapidly. Boom! With a bang, the 4 pillars of starlight collided with the golden domain, and a loud noise erupted. However, the 4 pillars of starlight were blocked by the power of that domain. What is that? Seeing this scene, Xiaoye and others looked at the golden crown on Yi Linfeng's head in shock. The golden crown was not real, but illusory, but when the crown came out, Yi Linfeng's aura was completely different. At that moment, they felt the fluctuation of divine power that they felt when worshipping the statue of the wind god. That power was awe-inspiring and frightening, and they did not dare to give birth to a rebellious heart. Now that Yi Linfeng's aura also had that feeling, Tang Weiner's face became serious at this moment. That is the crown of gods. When he summons the crown of sons of gods, he is a real god. He can use the power of all the gods enshrined, that is to say, behind him are also the power accumulated by the 2 big families and countless years of countless believers. Then isn't he invincible? How could there be such a existence? Some of the hidden dragon warriors exclaimed. There does exist such a practice, which is almost cheating. It is a god created artificially with endless resources and connections. Tang Weiner said with a serious face. Then Brother Longchen can win? A hidden dragon warrior asked worriedly. Boom! Before Tang Weiner could reply, the loud noise in the battlefield made their hearts tighten all of a sudden. Yi Linfeng's domain power was still expanding wildly, pushing the 4 pillars of stars back. Boom! The 4 pillars of stars seemed to have reached their limits of strength, and finally exploded with a bang. Ants are just ants. No matter how strong an ant is, it will never be able to fight against the gods. Yi Linfeng's voice resonated between the heaven and the earth, and the whole world was full of his echoes. At this moment, he seemed to dominate the laws of the whole world. Long Chen looked at the afterglow between the sky and the earth, felt the energy changes between the sky and the earth, and listened to Yi Linfeng's arrogant words. A hint of sarcasm gradually emerged from the corner of his mouth. The power of the gods? It's just the power of a false god. Compared with the power of the gods of Brahma, you are just a speck of dust. Man-made false gods accumulated with resources will not be recognized by the world. Compared with the real gods, you are just entertaining yourself. Seeing Yi Linfeng's astonishing coercion, and the power of the gods as vast as the sea, Long Chen was also very shocked. However, Long Chen found that his power of the gods could not resonate with the heaven and the earth, and it all depended on the destiny roulette to extract the power of faith, to forcibly increase the strength. To put it bluntly, he looks tall, but he is actually standing on the resources that his family has accumulated for him. Before, Long Chen had never understood how such a young god was born, but now he fully understands. Hearing Long Chen's words, Yi Linfeng's face turned gloomy for an instant, because what he couldn't accept the most was the word, false god, which was his biggest taboo. Your mouth stinks and you need to pay for it. Yi Linfeng's figure flickered and disappeared instantly. Weiner, be careful. The moment Yi Linfeng disappeared, Long Chen was shocked and angry, and rushed towards Tang Weiner and the others like a bolt of lightning. Chapter 54:01 No one expected that Yi Linfeng used the power of faith, and his strength was unprecedented. Instead of fighting Long Chen, he rushed towards Tang Weiner in the distance. Yi Linfeng carried endless divine power. When he rushed to Tang Weiner's side, the area where Tang Weiner was located collapsed in an instant. The hidden dragon warriors were all shocked. They were horrified to find that they were imprisoned, and they couldn't even blink their eyelids. Haha, as far as the power of the gods is concerned, all living beings are under my feet and suppressed. Yi Linfeng rushed in front of Tang Weiner, waved his big hand, his divine power surged, and the vast power of the gods rushed over mountains and seas. His 5 fingers were like hooks, and went straight to Tang Weiner's throat. Facing Yi Linfeng's attack, Tang Weiner was fearless. In fact, when Yi Linfeng was fighting Long Chen, she had been slowly accumulating energy. She had a premonition that Yi Linfeng would sneak attack her. It was a mysterious feeling that couldn't be explained, but now that Yi Linfeng really made a move, a bright moon appeared on the destiny roulette behind her, and the power of the wind soared violently. The moment she held the long sword in her jade hand, the violent wind power disappeared in an instant. When the long sword was unsheathed, the world was cut into 2 pieces by a sword. This sword split time and space and shattered all ways. Blessing of the wind god, Fengwei Zhan. Tang Weiner scolded angrily. Having accumulated energy for a long time, she concentrated all her strength in this sword. If she advances but never retreats, if she fails, she will become benevolent. Boom! Yi Linfeng's divine domain was cut open by Tang Weiner's sword. The sharp sword energy contained endless wind power, and at the same time contained the power of gods on his body. Tang Weiner is a disciple of Fengshen Hage, the inheritor of Fengshen's lineage. She is the darling who was blessed by Fengshen, and in this attack, she summoned the power of Fengshen. Although due to her cultivation, she could only summon a trace of Fengshen's power, but this trace of Fengshen's power could cut through Yi Linfeng's domain like cutting tofu. In Yi Linfeng's eyes, Tang Weiner was just a beautiful vase. Her only function was to threaten Long Chen, but he never expected that Tang Weiner's strength was so terrifying, not weaker than Long Chen. I wanted to hit a cat, but when I approached it, I found it was a tiger, and it was a deadly tiger. Yi Linfeng wanted to suppress Tang Weiner, but he could see that Long Chen cared about this woman very much. It's all a foregone conclusion. Although this blow was powerful, in order to keep his life alive, he left room for it. However, when Tang Weiner's sword slashed through his domain, his face changed greatly in fright, and he hastily withdrew the attack, and his hands quickly formed seals. Buzz! Yi Linfeng made continuous seals with both hands, and in front of him, 18 shields of divine power were continuously condensed, and each shield was condensed with the purest power of faith, and the coercion was shocking. Puff puff. However, just as the shield was condensed, Tang Weiner slashed down with a sword, and the 18 tough divine power shields were split open by the sword like paper. Puff! Tang Weiner slashed straight at the center of Yi Linfeng's eyebrows. Yi Linfeng instinctively dodged, avoiding the vital point between the eyebrows, but one ear was cut off by the sword. The sword chi slashed on his shoulder, blood splattered, and a big gash was cut abruptly, blood gushing like a spring. Tang Weiner's sword strike shocked the entire audience and shocked all the enemies. Who would have thought that Tang Weiner would have such terrifying strength? Except for the enchantment of the Fenyu battlefield, everyone except Yi Linfeng was dumbfounded. According to their information, the so-called sons and goddesses of Fengshen Hage should be a group of pampered waste. Currently used, the app with the most complete and best audio for listening to books, integrated with 4 major speech synthesis engines, over 100 kinds of timbres, and an artifact that supports offline reading, Huanyuan app. ComSource app. Only Yi Linfeng saw Tang Weiner's sword, and a smile gradually appeared on the corner of his mouth. Fengshen's blessing? Is it just a simple blessing? Tang Weiner's sword shattered Yi Linfeng's god's domain and disintegrated his oppression of the hidden dragon army. When the oppressive power disappeared, everyone immediately regained their mobility and quickly retreated to the distance. They knew that the gap was too big and they had to stay away from the battlefield. Otherwise, instead of being able to help Tang Weiner and Long Chen, it would drag them down instead. At this time, Long Chen came, and Yi Linfeng had retreated tens of thousands of miles away. At the moment of retreating, in order to prevent Long Chen and Rang Weiner from making a surprise attack, he formed seals with both hands and arranged an endless barrier. That is a defensive enchantment, and there is a terrifying power of space above the enchantment. If someone attacks the enchantment, it will be pulled by the force of space, and it is unknown where it will be sent. This is a trick to escape, and it is also one of the most effective tricks to gain breathing time for oneself on the battlefield. Under the same level of cultivation, there is almost no solution. Although this kind of space enchantment will soon be swallowed by the power of space between heaven and earth, it can only last for a few breaths, but just a few breaths of time is enough to change a person's fate. When Long Chen came to Tang Weiner's side, seeing Tang Weiner's complexion pale, he couldn't help feeling a pain in his heart. Obviously, Tang Weiner hadn't reached that level yet, and forcibly summoning Feng Shen's blessing would put a heavy burden on his body. Long Chen, let me deal with him. My divine blessing can just restrain his divine power. Seeing Long Chen gnashing his teeth, Tang Weiner said softly. As for the power of gods, Yi Linfeng is just a false god, but Tang Weiner's Fengshen blessing is the real power of gods. Tang Weiner is right. Her power of gods can completely defeat Yi Linfeng. She makes a move and wins. The probability is high. You protect everyone, this guy, leave it to me, trust me. Long Chen looked at Tang Weiner and tried to calm his voice. At this time, his killing intent had already started to shake his rationality, and he felt his body trembling uncontrollably. He knew that Tang Weiner and Yi Linfeng had a high chance of winning in a duel, but even if Tang Weiner won, it would be a tragic victory. The power of God's blessing is not something she can bear now. Long Chen felt sorry for Tang Weiner and hated Yi Linfeng even more. He had secretly sworn that he would never let this guy leave the Feng Yu battlefield alive. At this moment, the barrier between heaven and earth disappeared, and at this time Yi Linfeng's injury had completely recovered. Long Chen's eyes were cold. Without saying a word, he just walked towards Yi Linfeng step by step. At this time, Long Chen's killing intent had reached an unprecedented height. Haha, are you angry? Ha, I like to see you angry. Only when you are angry, you will not run away. The reason why I want to catch that little girl is to force you to fight to the death with me, but now it seems that there is no need for that. Yi Linfeng was still laughing loudly, facing the murderous Long Chen in front of him. Since you want it, I'll give you one. Boom! The star sea exploded behind Long Chen. 8 stars lit up rapidly, and there were flames burning. The 8 stars ignited, and the star sea was ignited. At that moment, Long Chen's breath erupted like a volcano. A decisive battle without end. Long Chen roared, carrying boundless murderous aura, changing the color of the world, and rushed towards Yi Linfeng. Chapter 5402. The Sea of Stars is burning, and the 8 stars are as bright as the scorching sun. There are endless stars circulating around the 8 stars, as if 8 small universes are running. Every star rotates with a cluster of stars. Every time they rotate, the purple flames in Long Chen's star sea become more vigorous, and at the same time, Long Chen's breath soars a lot. It was the first time for Long Chen to run the power of the stars like this, without violent outbursts. He was furious, no longer cared about any opportunities, and no longer followed the steps. He wanted to maximize the power of the 8-star battle body. In view of the general environment, this site may be closed at any time. Please move to the permanent source replacement app, Huanyuan app. Calm as soon as possible. He doesn't care whether his body can bear it or not, because he can no longer control his anger. If he doesn't release it, he will be burned to death by his own anger. Boom! The dragon dust star sea burned, 8 star clusters circulated, and the purple flame ignited the universe, and the heavens and the earth trembled under the might of the dragon dust. Rumbling divine voices are stirring, thousands of Taos are whining, centered on Long Chen. The terrifying coercion is still rising rapidly, the earth is constantly collapsing, the space is constantly twisting, tearing, and spreading rapidly to the surroundings. Retreat! Tang Weiner's complexion suddenly changed, and she led the crowd back quickly. However, just as they retreated, the area they were in was crushed by a terrifying force, and space runes circulated, as if there was an invisible giant beast that was constantly devouring the space. Click! With a bang, the void beneath Yi Linfeng's feet shattered, and people rushed towards Long Chen like lightning. This time, he took the initiative to attack. Boom! However, before he could reach Long Chen, he was sent flying by the billowing air wave. What? At this time, all the strong people present were shocked, and Yi Linfeng's face changed. The reason why he shot was because he saw Long Chen's aura, which seemed to be rising endlessly. If he was allowed to continue to release, he would be in danger. However, his tentative blow was bounced away by his breath without even touching Long Chen. Only then did he realize that he seemed to have done something extremely stupid. Boom! The 8 stars behind Long Chen are still slowly rotating with the 8 clusters of nebula, and his aura is still climbing crazily. Ka ka ka! To the horror of countless people, the space around Long Chen began to crack, and the whole world seemed to be unable to accommodate him. Only then did people realize what a terrifying existence Long Chen was. Before, Long Chen said that those battles were just a warm-up, but now it seems that such a level of battle is not even a warm-up, it can only be regarded as an activity, just muscles. Stop him quickly, we can't let him continue to raise his breath. At this time, the old man of Brahma Pill Valley roared anxiously in the void. This is the battlefield of the wind field. With the blessing of enchantment, it stands to reason that the outside voice cannot be transmitted in, but the old man of the Brahma Pill Valley did not know what secret method he used, and he was able to shout from the air. However, at this time his voice was full of anxiety and panic, and it was no longer calm as before. Obviously, he noticed the horror of Long Chen. Boom! At this time, Long Chen's aura was still climbing crazily, the void was disillusioned, and thousands of runes shot out radially. No one present had ever seen that scene before. This is not only the crushing of power, but also the collision of personal will and the will of heaven. The power of heaven is restraining Long Chen, because Long Chen has already threatened the safety of this world. The power of God, purple lightning cloud piercing palm. Yi Linfeng also started to worry at this time. Long Chen's aura rose violently, making his heart of fear more and more intense. With a loud shout, a lightning symbol lit up in the palm of his hand. He patted Long Chen with his palm. Before, although Yi Linfeng's destiny roulette had runes flashing and light spots overflowing, it had never turned. Now, it started to turn, which shows that Yi Linfeng really started to show his strength at this time. Boom boom boom. When Yi Linfeng struck out with a palm, the void exploded, and the air waves gushing out from Long Chen's body were pierced one after another. But what surprised people was that when Yi Linfeng struck this palm, they saw that with Long Chen as the center, the waves of air gushed out one after another, wave after wave, wave after wave. It was endless. Yi Linfeng's palm was like a broken bamboo, piercing through countless air waves, and went straight to Long Chen's chest, but Long Chen ignored it, and was still driving the 8 star clusters crazily, and rapidly improving his aura. Boom! Suddenly there was a loud explosion. Yi Linfeng's palm was 3 feet away from Long Chen's body, the lightning rune in his palm was dim, the power of this palm was exhausted here. In the end, he still failed to touch Long Chen, and was bounced by the air wave. Flew out. What? Everyone was shocked. Yi Linfeng had already started to enter the real fighting state, yet he still couldn't get close? How strong is Long Chen at this time? For a moment, everyone felt their scalps go numb. Both of them were monsters, so powerful that it was unimaginable. Don't keep it, use it to ignite the eye of the Valkyrie. The old man of Brahma Pill Valley shouted from a distance. Hearing the old man's cry, Yi Linfeng took a deep breath and slowly closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, a pair of golden halos appeared in his pupils, and a pair of golden pupils also appeared in the destiny roulette behind him. Originally, Long Chen was releasing coercion, making the heavens mourn, but at this time Yi Linfeng summoned the eye of the martial god. At that moment, the mourning between heaven and earth disappeared. At the same time, people were shocked to find that the laws of heaven and earth were bound by them, as if they disappeared in an instant. It seems that the law of heaven and earth no longer resists the strength of the two, or in other words, it has been unable to resist the strength and will of the two, and has completely given up. You are the first one in your class to let me use the eye of the Valkyrie. Yi Linfeng shouted coldly. He was aloof, and he felt it a great shame to use the eye of the martial god to deal with Long Chen. Boom! Yi Linfeng took a step forward, opened his big hand, and the thunder rune appeared, and he slapped it out with his palm, exactly the same as the previous move. Puff puff. However, this blow contained supreme divine power, and Long Chen's air wave was pierced by a palm, directly hitting Long Chen's face. Snapped this time, Long Chen made a move. His big hand full of stars slapped Yi Linfeng's. The whole world trembled suddenly. The two palms met. At that moment, time and space seemed to stand still, and there was no sound in the world. The power of a god floats, the power of a star circulates, and the two destructive forces collide, and people can only hear their own heartbeats. Although it hasn't reached the limit yet, it should be enough to deal with you. Long Chen looked at Yi Linfeng coldly. His face was full of cold, killing intent. Believe it or not, I'm going to kill that woman right now? Hearing Long Chen's arrogant words, Yi Linfeng was extremely upset and said coldly. Hearing Yi Linfeng's words, black lines appeared in Long Chen's eyes, and Yi Linfeng suddenly felt his scalp tingling, as if he was being targeted by a prehistoric beast, and fear arose spontaneously. Long Chen's right hand faced Yi Linfeng's palm, and suddenly his thumb and little finger separated rapidly, clasping the sides of Yi Linfeng's palm tightly, and the power of the stars exploded, like two steel hooks, piercing Yi Linfeng hard. Yi Linfeng felt a sharp pain and was about to withdraw his hand. Click! The painful sound of fracture came, and amidst Yi Linfeng's screams, Yi Linfeng's palm was forcibly broken by Long Chen. Chapter 5403 What? Seeing Long Chen forcibly breaking Yi Linfeng's palm, the face of the old man in Brahma Pill Valley changed drastically. Among the strong people present, he was the only one who knew how strong Yi Linfeng was at the moment. However, Yi Linfeng, who was so strong, still couldn't compete with Long Chen in terms of strength, and suffered a big loss in the first move of the peak duel. Yi Linfeng's palm was broken abruptly, and the endless power of the stars spread along his palm to his body rapidly. His god power couldn't block the invasion of the power of the stars alone, and his body instantly turned into a star, unable to move. Until now, I can't see the gap between you and me. What's the use of your eyes? Long Chen's left hand was like lightning, and he stretched his fingers, piercing Yi Linfeng's eyes. Yi Linfeng's right hand was pinched, and his whole body was invaded by the power of the stars. He was numb and wanted to avoid it, but it was too late. Puff! Yi Linfeng's eyes were forcibly gouged out by Long Chen's two fingers, and Yi Linfeng let out a shrill scream, which resounded through the world and shocked countless strong men. Long Chen's ruthless methods are creepy. Even the hidden dragon warriors who have already comprehended life and death can't help but fight a cold war when they see this scene. Boom! The vision behind Yi Linfeng trembled, and the pair of huge eyes trembled in the vision. Long Chen's star power, which almost covered Yi Linfeng's entire body, was forced out in an instant. Yi Linfeng roared and waved his big hand. The palm held by Long Chen was unexpectedly broken by him. Long Chen had already firmly grasped his hand. If he wanted to break free, a strong man had to cut off his wrist. Yi Linfeng also had a lot of ruthlessness, and made the most correct choice at the first time. After breaking his wrist, he quickly backed away, and his other hand formed a seal, and the severed palm was reborn. However, a severed hand can be reborn, but the gouged-out pupils cannot be regenerated immediately. He can only replace his eyes with his consciousness and the pupils of the Valkyrie in the vision behind him. However, when he looked at Long Chen, he heard the exclamation of countless people in his ears, and at the same time mixed with the roar of the old man of Brahma Pill Valley, Yi Linfeng suddenly felt bad, and he lost his vision for a moment. He shouted angrily, waved his fists in front of him, and retreated rapidly, but just as he retreated, Long Chen had already appeared beside Yi Linfeng. It turned out that Long Chen blinded Yi Linfeng's eyes, knowing that Yi Linfeng would use the pupils in perception and vision as eyes. He struck out with his big hand, and a curtain of stars blocked Yi Linfeng's vision, and at the same time disturbed the space. Yi Linfeng had just lost his eyes, and when he was flustered, he definitely couldn't think of a way to deal with it immediately. As Long Chen expected, he backed away like a headless fly. Long Chen's big hand was rounded, and the power of the stars flowed rapidly on the entire arm, and he slammed it. Snapped! Yi Linfeng's face was blasted instantly, his cheekbones exploded, his cheeks exploded, and half of his mouth was directly pumped. Yi Linfeng screamed and flew upside down like a gourd rolling on the ground. "Why are you pissing me off?" Snapped. "Why are you pissing me off?" Snapped. Long Chen roared, two big slaps, as if he didn't want money, slapped Yi Linfeng's face frantically. Each slap could accurately cover his entire face, no matter how he dodged or attacked randomly meaningless. "Papa!" Long Chen's body is as fast as a shooting star, every slap can explode the void, and every slap comes with the power to destroy the world. People saw that Yi Linfeng was so slapped that he had no strength to fight back, and everyone's scalp was numb. If it was Yi Linfeng, if it was someone else, if they were slapped by Long Chen, it would be guaranteed that there would be no bones left. But even Yi Linfeng couldn't bear such an attack. His face had been completely smashed, his mouth had disappeared, and he was blown out abruptly. His mouth was full of teeth, and he didn't know where he flew to. Yi Linfeng was completely stunned by Long Chen's continuous slaps. He only knew how to resist and attack randomly, and couldn't cause any harm to Long Chen at all. Yi Linfeng is powerful and has rich combat experience, but his combat experience is the experience of suppressing the strong from all walks of life, deciphering various magical powers, and almost no experience of being beaten. At this time, he is not even as good as an ordinary strong man. When an ordinary strong man falls into a desperate situation, the first thing he thinks about is how to get out of the desperate situation, rather than blindly dodging and defending. Use the map of the Emperor's blood. The old man from Brahma Pill Valley roared, and Yi Linfeng, who was stunned, finally came to his senses. Suddenly, the destiny roulette behind him trembled, and a divine map flew out of the vision. As soon as the divine figure came out, the terrifying majesty of the Emperor surged. This is a terrifying divine weapon, made of the skin of an ancient divine beast, with various runes drawn on it. As soon as it appeared, Long Chen would cover the star power of the destiny roulette. Was instantly dispelled. At that moment, Yi Linfeng regained his vision in an instant, and when he regained his vision, it was as if the blind man regained his light and saw hope. Boom! The divine map appeared and rushed towards Long Chen. The runes on the divine map were distorted, and the terrifying suction made Long Chen stagger, and he was about to be included in the divine map. With Long Chen's stagger, the continuous attacking rhythm was interrupted. Yi Linfeng immediately got rid of Long Chen's attack and flew backwards. When Yi Linfeng stepped back, everyone saw Yi Linfeng's face, and they all exclaimed. At this time, Yi Linfeng's entire face almost disappeared, and there was not much flesh and blood left on the bones. The mouth without teeth, it's just a blood hole. If it wasn't for that fate roulette, people would hardly recognize Yi Linfeng. Yi Linfeng had already lost all consciousness in his head at this time, and could no longer feel the slightest pain, but when he heard people's exclamations and saw their horrified eyes, he knew that he was uglier than a ghost at this moment. Yi Linfeng roared furiously, but just as he was halfway through the roar, a black long knife with a domineering shape and an evil spirit appeared in Long Chen's hand. "Your mouth stinks, close it for me." Keel Seer appeared in Long Chen's hands, and Long Chen stopped drinking. The crescent moon shocks the heavens. The Keel evil moon whizzed down. The black blade was like the sickle of the god of death cutting the thread of life. This knife killed all life. Without the blessing of the power of the stars, without the supply of the power of the blood, this knife was completely the Keel evil moon one's own strength. After this period of cultivation, it has become stronger. Keel Shiyue crossed the sky and went straight to Yi Linfeng, or in other words, slashed at the divine picture above Yi Linfeng's head. Laugh. There was a sound like cracking brocade, and the terrifying divine map, like a piece of paper cut by a sharp knife, split into two in an instant. The divine weapon was destroyed by Long Chen. How is this possible? At that moment, Yi Linfeng was completely dumbfounded. Although this divine map is a human emperor's divine weapon, it possesses boundless magical powers, comparable to a divine emperor's weapon, but before it could unleash its terror, it was abolished by Long Chen. Tat tat tat. Long Chen carried the dragon bone Shiyue. His eyes were cold and his killing intent was boundless. and he walked towards Yi Linfeng step by step. At that moment, he was like a god of death who harvested life, making all living beings tremble. Chapter 54. Oh, for the huge dragon bone Xiaoyu was carried on Long Chen's shoulders, and the evil murderous aura infected the whole world, destroying the laws of the world. After this period of cultivation, Kiel Zayu's aura has become stronger, and the killing aura has also become heavier. It is like a magic soldier from hell, and it is synonymous with death and destruction. One person with one knife, the murderous aura soared into the sky. Everyone felt the terrifying murderous aura, felt the soul tremble, and the body trembled uncontrollably. Even Yi Lingkong and the others outside the barrier felt the murderous aura rushing towards their faces. This murderous aura went straight into the depths of people's souls, arousing people's most primitive fear. No matter how high your realm is, no matter how strong your strength is, you cannot resist this kind of fear. Even a half-step God-Emperor-level powerhouse can feel the body chills and tremble uncontrollably. Because no matter how high one's realm is or how strong one's cultivation is, all living beings are equal in the face of death. Perhaps death is the fairest thing in this world. Tat tat tat. Long Chen carried the Kiel evil moon and walked towards Yi Linfeng step by step. Long Chen's eyes were cold, like a god of death from hell. The space behind him was constantly twisting and collapsing. The scene was extremely terrifying. People are stupid because they don't know how to be in awe and gratitude. The weak need to be in awe of the strong, because the strong can take everything away from you at any time. The strong also need to be in awe of the weak, otherwise the day the weak become stronger will be your downfall. It seems that you don't understand this truth. Relying on his little three-legged kung fu, thinking that relying on his own background, he can call himself a god and kill him? Not to mention you, even the great Brahma, was almost beaten to the point of collapse. You, a small false god, what qualifications do you have to be arrogant and domineering? Long Chen's voice was as cold as ice, and when he heard it in people's ears, it seemed to freeze people's souls. Yi Linfeng is a generation of pride, with the body of a god, extraordinary bearing, and the blessing of faith. His aura is vast, terrifying, and awe-inspiring. However, such a powerful Tianjiao, in front of Long Chen, is like a rabbit fighting a tiger. The aura between the two cannot be compared at all. The gap is too big. Long Chen's voice, like the murmur of a heavenly emperor, or the taunt of a demon god, made people tremble with fear. Yi Linfeng's face was covered with blood and he was trembling all over. Unfortunately, his eyes disappeared and his face was shattered. People couldn't see his expression, and they didn't know whether he was trembling because of anger or fear. You little ant, what qualifications do you have to judge a god? Do you think my strength is all there is? You are wrong. Yi Linfeng roared. Because Yi Linfeng lost his mouth, his teeth were all shattered, and his voice was extremely vague and weird. However, people could barely understand him, and they could also hear his strong confidence in his voice. The power of faith burns. Yi Linfeng roared furiously, his whole body was covered with milky white flames, endless power of faith soared into the sky, and a sacred and magnificent aura swept across the heavens. Oh my God, he still has a whole card. People exclaimed that they had fought to this extent. People thought it was over, but they didn't expect that Yi Linfeng's aura was still improving crazily. Burning the power of faith, Yi Linfeng is going to lose money this time. It is extremely difficult to generate the power of faith. Although he can burn the power of faith in exchange for supreme divine power, it may take a few days for the depleted power of faith. Thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years, can make up for it. In this way, he will not be able to catch up with the opportunity of 9 heavens to restart, and miss the opportunity to gather the dragon energy of Tianmai in vain. Even if he kills Long Chen, he will not be worth the loss. From then on, he will no longer be a person of my generation, and even never want to catch up with us for the rest of his life up. In the defensive battlefield, a monster-strong man couldn't help sighing when he saw this scene. Originally, he had a good relationship with Yi Linfeng. This so-called good relationship was actually paved with resources. The forces behind him hoped to use his relationship with Yi Linfeng to drive their own family. But Yi Linfeng burned the power of faith, and his cultivation would not only stagnate, but also fall from the altar. There were so many masters in the martial god hall, and the arrogance was endless. The position he vacated would naturally be replaced by someone. In this way, all the efforts of them and his family will be in vain, and all hopes will come to naught. Tat tat tat. Yi Linfeng burned the power of faith, and the blazing flames shot up into the sky, scorching the sky, and the violent coercion made the world tremble. However, Long Chen seemed to turn a blind eye to his movements, and still walked towards him step by step. Life is like an ant, and you should have a lofty ambition. Life is thinner than paper, and you should have an unyielding heart. What about ants? Who dares to say that an ant can't set foot on the top of the world and look down at the world of mortals? Long Chen said coldly. Long Chen's words shocked the hidden dragon warriors. It was the first time in their life that they heard such wonderful words. In the past, they were also arrogant and strong, but after they came to Fengshanhai Pavilion, they were overwhelmed by endless arrogances. At that moment, they found that they were so ordinary, so weak, as ordinary as ants. In the Fengshanhai Pavilion, countless local disciples called them ants and bugs to describe their weakness and filth. They wanted to fight back countless times, and wanted to prove themselves countless times, but the reality was cruel. Every time they failed, they resisted and got more humiliation and ridicule. That was the darkest period of their lives, and they even suspected that in the Fengshanhai Pavilion, they could only live humbly like ants until their lifespan was exhausted and they died humbly. Now Long Chen's words have aroused their great ambitions, because they know that Long Chen and Tang Weiner climbed up step by step from the mortal world. Who said that ants can't set foot on the top of the world and look down on the world of mortals? You dirty reptile, shut up, I'll kill you first and then your women. Yi Linfeng roared. However, the moment he roared, the stars appeared under Long Chen's feet, accelerated for an instant, and rushed to Yi Linfeng with the dragon bone Shiyue in his hand, and chopped it down with a single blow. Yi Linfeng didn't have time to continue cursing, so he could only swallow the rest of the words, opened his big hand, and an ancient bronze bell emerged, with milky white lines flowing on the ancient bronze bell, rushing towards Long Chen. Boom! The keel Shiyue slashed fiercely on the ancient bronze bell, and with a bang, all the strong people present felt that their eardrums had been pierced, and a mouthful of blood gushed out wildly. Even Tang Weiner and the others were no exception. They were injured in an instant, and they didn't even understand why they were injured. Their heads were groggy, and their internal organs seemed to be turning over. Puff! Long Chen was so shocked that he flew upside down a few steps, while Yi Linfeng spurted out a mouthful of blood, and even the burning power of faith weakened a lot. Long Chen was useless. He knew that this ancient bronze clock was not a mortal thing. It could carry the power of endless faith. It should be a magic weapon of faith. Long Chen snorted coldly. Above the dragon bone evil moon, endless stars circulated, and the power of the stars in Long Chen's whole body poured into the dragon bone evil moon without reservation. Boom! When Long Chen's power was injected, billions of stars circulated on the keel evil moon, and the evil breath pierced through the eternal immortal dome, and slashed at Yi Linfeng again. The previous knife was all from Longu Zayu's own power, but now, the human knife merged into one, and the two forces merged instantly. This knife will destroy the world. I fought with you. Yi Linfeng roared. Billions of spots appeared on the destiny roulette behind him. Each spot was like a spring, and the power of faith gushed out crazily. Yi Linfeng knew that if he kept any more reservations, he would die. He instantly summoned and burned all the power of faith, and poured it madly into the ancient bronze bell. Boom! Everyone desperately covered their ears, put up heavy defenses, and watched as the two magic soldiers slashed together fiercely. Chapter 5405. Boom! Keel Shiyue carried the power of hundreds of millions of stars, and slashed on the ancient bronze bell. This knife carried all of Long Chen's star power, and only Dragon Bone Xiaoyu could carry such terrifying power. With a shocking explosion, the heavens and the earth were disillusioned, 10,000 ways collapsed, and cracks like spider webs spread all over the sky in an instant. In the horrifying scene, the ancient bronze bell was shattered by Long Chen, turning into thousands of fragments and scattered all over the world. Yi Linfeng was so shocked that blood spurted wildly, his whole body exploded, and he was almost crushed to pieces by this terrifying blow. This knife is shocking, and it is irresistible. It not only contains the power of Long Chen's stars, but also contains the killing intent of Long Chen and Long Guxia. This knife made their will resonate, and the feeling of flesh and blood connection became more profound. At that moment, Long Chen and Qi Shiyue cooperated more tacitly. With one strike, the winner was determined. Everyone looked at the spider web-like crack above the 9 heavens. Although it was slowly disappearing, the shock it brought was something that people would never forget for the rest of their lives. Call, Dragon Bone Shiyue returned to Long Chen's shoulder again. Long Chen's face was a little pale, and he gasped slightly. The power of this knife was shocking, but the consumption was also extremely terrifying. Long Chen carried the gigantic Qi Shiyue and walked forward with endless space fragments. At this moment, he was the invincible god of war walking in the world, blocking demons and slaughtering demons, and immortals blocking immortals. Tat tat tat. Long Chen walked towards Yi Linfeng step by step. At this time, Yi Linfeng was almost a mass of rotten flesh. Every time he took a breath, blood spurted from his mouth. The strong men who came in with Yi Linfeng from a distance were completely stunned. Yi Linfeng was so strong that he still lost, and the defeat was so simple that there was no room for struggle at all. Long Chen is too strong. When Long Chen shows his absolute strength, Yi Linfeng is not enough. The gap between the two is huge. Ho ho! Yi Linfeng's mouth was wriggling as if he wanted to say something, his fingers were trembling as if he wanted to make a seal, but it was all in vain. At this time, he was severely injured by Long Chen. Even the power of the gods could not resist such a terrifying power of the stars. Now he is only breathing more than the dead. Tat tat tat. Long Chen walked towards Yi Linfeng step by step. His eyes were still cold, and his killing intent remained undiminished. For Yi Linfeng, Long Chen had no mercy at all. When walking in front of Yi Linfeng, Qi Shiyue trembled like a bolt of lightning, mercilessly slashing down. Just when Long Chen was about to kill Yi Linfeng with a single blow, the fragments of the ancient bronze clock scattered in the sky gathered together again in an instant, blocking Yi Linfeng. Boom! With a bang, the dragon bone Shiyue slashed on the ancient bronze bell, and Long Chen let out a muffled snort, and was thrown backwards by the ancient bronze bell. What? Tang Weiner and the others were taken aback. At this point Yi Linfeng could still resist? Long Chen was so shocked that his blood surged, his eyes stared like gold stars, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood, and his tiger's mouth was already split open. Long Chen looked at the ancient bronze clock. At this time, the ancient bronze clock was constantly spinning in the air, and the endless power of faith was quickly repairing it and recovering it at an extremely fast speed. Long Chen followed the power of faith, and couldn't help shrinking his pupils. He was shocked to find that Yi Linfeng had fallen, but his destiny roulette was still floating in the air. Moreover, the aura of the destiny roulette not only did not decay, but became stronger. On the destiny roulette, small roulettes appeared one after another, and there were hundreds of them. Currently used, the app with the most complete and best audio for listening to books, integrated with 4 major speech synthesis engines, over 100 kinds of timbres, and an artifact that supports offline reading, Huanyuan app. Calm Source app. In every small roulette, there is a figure sitting cross-legged. When he saw those figures, Long Chen understood instantly. Buzz. The ancient bronze clock recovered in an instant. Not only that, Yi Linfeng, who was already half dead, was nourished by the power of faith, and his physical body quickly recovered. In just a few breaths, he had already returned to his original appearance. Seeing this scene, everyone, no matter the enemy or us, was stunned. At first they thought that Yi Linfeng would surely die, but unexpectedly, there was a shocking reversal. Could it be that he is really immortal? Someone exclaimed. He was injured like that, and he can recover quickly. This ability is simply against the sky. Kill him for me. Yi Linfeng stood up. Although his physical body had recovered, it was only on the surface. At this time, he was still weak and unable to move at all, but he yelled at the destiny roulette. It was only then that people noticed that in the destiny roulette, each and every figure was actually alive. They were making seals with their hands, and they were looking at this place through the destiny roulette. This should be your last resort, right? Is this how the so-called undefeated record is maintained? It's ridiculous and pathetic. Long Chen carried the dragon bone Shiwei on his shoulder and looked at the destiny roulette behind Yi Linfeng, with a hint of sarcasm in the corner of his mouth. Feelings are Yi Linfeng's last trump card, and this is why he has no taboos in doing things, leaving no way out. Because behind him, there are hundreds of strong people supporting him. Although Long Chen doesn't know who these people are, they are definitely not simple people who can appear in Yi Linfeng's destiny roulette. The most important thing is that the power of these people can be transmitted here through the power of the destiny roulette, not only repairing Yi Linfeng's injury, but also restoring the ancient bronze clock. Under their blessing, the ancient bronze clock was even more powerful and terrifying than before. This was Yi Linfeng's confidence. No matter how powerful the opponent is, he can't die. At the critical moment, there are so many people helping him, which is also the root of his immortality. It's not easy for you to fight with Fenger to such an extent. Please report your name. In the fate roulette that day, an old man shouted. As soon as the old man opened his mouth, the sky and the earth trembled, and the majesty of the emperor surged. The vast coercion made Long Chen know the cultivation level of this person, the half-step god emperor. Long Chen didn't answer the old man, but looked carefully at the figure in the fate roulette, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. The ostentation is really not small. There are 7 half-step god emperors escorting this idiot. However, it's useless. The person Long Chen wants to kill, will die even if the Emperor of Heaven comes. After Long Chen finished speaking, he walked towards Yi Linfeng step by step with the keel on his shoulder, completely ignoring the terrifying figures in the destiny roulette. Even after a great battle, his aura has begun to decline, but Long Chen's fighting spirit has not diminished but increased, and that kind of self-confidence will make the world surrender to him. In that case, go to hell. The old man let out a roar and formed a seal with both hands. The moment he formed a seal, all the figures in the destiny roulette formed a seal at the same time. The ancient bronze clock shone with dazzling light, like a round of the sun, and the vast power of the gods wanted to crush the sky. At that moment, even the enchantment of the wind-field battlefield began to expand rapidly and began to deform. Die. The old man stopped drinking, and the ancient bronze clock smashed towards Long Chen like a meteor. Puff, however, the moment the ancient bronze clock came in front of Long Chen, it exploded, and all the experts in the destiny roulette spurted blood at the same time. What? These strong men let out horrified cries. The ancient bronze clock shattered. Unlike before, it was not broken into many pieces, but directly shattered into powder and turned into nothingness. Then people saw an ancient bronze tripod vaguely appearing in the void, but it disappeared before people could see its appearance clearly. Immediately afterwards, people saw the figure of Long Chen walking out of the constantly distorted space, with the keel CS still on his shoulders, walking towards Yi Linfeng step by step. I said that no one can save the person I, Long Chen, want to kill. If you have any tricks, just use them. Chapter 5406. The ancient bronze clock was restored under the power transmission of these people, but it was shattered by the Qiankuan cauldron. In front of the Qiankuan cauldron, any belief in divine weapons is no different from toys. The Qiankuan cauldron is afraid of being contaminated with blood and soul energy, but with this kind of power transmission through the air, the Qiankuan cauldron can strike unscrupulously. The ancient bronze bell was smashed into powder by the Qiankuan cauldron, and it was so broken that it could not be broken again. Even if they had the power to reach the sky, they could never restore it. Yi Linfeng's destiny roulette was still in the void, and every figure on the destiny roulette was spurting blood, and the blood dyed the destiny roulette red. Transform the roulette of destiny into a roulette of faith, thinking that with endless power of faith, you can live forever? Long Chen sneered. He had completely seen through the secret of Yi Linfeng's fate roulette, and it was worthless to put it bluntly. Boy, stop. Do you know who Yi Linfeng is? The old man in the fate roulette roared. However, Long Chen responded with a sharp knife and went straight to Yi Linfeng. Call. Suddenly, in the destiny roulette, everyone formed seals with their hands. Yi Linfeng trembled all over, and endless blood gushed out, forming a bloody shield. When he saw the runes circulating on the shield, Long Chen's pupils shrank slightly. Jiuli rune he is. Boom! With a bang, Long Chen slashed on the shield, and the shield was slashed by Long Chen, and he himself was shaken for a while. His blood surged, and blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. Stop it! Yi Linfeng is a descendant of our Protoss Yi family and Lin family. If you dare to kill him, you will offend the entire Jiuli Protoss. There will be no place for you in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The old man roared angrily. At the same time, all the people in the destiny roulette formed seals again, and as the roulette rotated, a vortex appeared, covering Yi Linfeng directly. Obviously, they wanted to use the power of the destiny roulette to teleport Yi Linfeng away. They moved out of the Protoss Yi family and Lin family, thinking that Long Chen must be jealous, so they could teleport Yi Linfeng away while Long Chen was hesitating. Puff! Keel Shiyue slashed down without any hesitation. Even the vortex and Yi Linfeng were slashed. Long Chen slashed down. Yi Linfeng's body and spirit were completely destroyed, and there was no bones left. The powerhouses in the destiny roulette were full of shock and anger. Protoss Yi family? There was a hint of sarcasm at the corner of Long Chen's mouth. The 4 major gods of Long, Jiang, Yi and Zhao, descendants of Jiuli? It seems that the mysterious veil of the Protoss is gradually being unraveled. Back then Long Tianrui entered the great wilderness alone to search for the inheritance of the God clan. Unexpectedly, Long Chen didn't need to look for it, and met the people of the Yi family here. Little bastard, if you dare to kill members of my Yi family, you'll just wait for your clan to be exterminated and your skin to be skinned. The old man gritted his teeth, and the voice came out from between his teeth. There's so much nonsense. The descendants of Jiuli have become de Brahma's dogs. Dogs with broken spines, how dare they bark? Long Chen snorted coldly, and cut out the dragon bone Shiyue again. Laugh. After Yi Linfeng died, his destiny roulette gradually dimmed. Long Chen chopped it down and exploded, and the roaring sound in the destiny roulette also stopped abruptly. Cutting the destiny roulette into pieces with one knife, Long Chen suddenly shook, feeling the world spinning. Long Chen, are you all right? Tang Weiner rushed up immediately and hurriedly supported Long Chen. I'm fine. It's up to you to kill them all. I've given them a chance before, but they still want to come in and hunt us down. Self-inflicted evil. You can't live. You don't have to keep your hands. Cut the weeds and eradicate the roots. Long Chen took a deep breath, endured the pain in his meridians, and gave orders to everyone. Kill. When Long Chen gave an order, Tang Weiner immediately carried it out, drawing out her long sword like a flash of lightning and rushing towards the strong men in the distance. Witnessing Long Chen's unrivaled demeanor with their own eyes, the hidden dragon warriors have long been excited, and now it's their turn to play, one by one bursting out with shocking fighting spirit, and fearlessly killing those enemies who are hundreds of times more than them. They now finally understand why they can be reborn at such a fast speed. It is because there is a peerless powerhouse like Long Chen who supports them behind. For such a good opportunity, they must work harder, and desperately than in the past, otherwise how can they be worthy of Long Chen's hard work? A strong man who looks down on the 9 heavens and disregards the universe and the world, spends so much energy, is it just to cultivate a group of waste? Thinking of this, the blood of the hidden dragon warriors is boiling, their souls are burning, their fighting power is soaring crazily, and the overall cohesion has reached an unprecedented height. The only thing they think about now is that even if they die, they must not embarrass Long Chen. Puff puff. Tang Weiner also completely let go. The vision of destiny was activated to the strongest state, and the first move was the most fierce lore. Even the top powerhouse could not survive 3 moves in her hands. Xiaoye and the others originally wanted to surround and annihilate these people, but there were too many enemies, and if their encirclement circle enlarged, weak points would appear, and fish that slipped through the net would appear everywhere. Xiaoye and the others immediately changed their strategy and changed their formation, regardless of the miscellaneous fish, and specifically picked the strong ones to attack. As for those weak people, someone has specially marked their souls, and kept them for later hunting down. Puff puff. The hidden dragon warriors, like wolves and tigers, fight desperately. Every blow is either you or me. Where has this group of powerhouses seen such a terrifying fighting style? Seeing the hidden dragon fighters attacking like madmen, their fearless appearance scared them to death. He fell to the ground and was killed instantly, unable to form an effective battle formation. Boom boom boom. Tang Weiner fluttered her long sword, and with the power of the wind, she fought against 8 top powerhouses. These powerhouses used to be brothers and sisters of Yi Linfeng. Although their strength was not as terrifying as Yi Linfeng, they were all superpowers. A novel app that has been running stably for many years, comparable to the old version of the book-chasing artifact, the source-changing app used by old bookworms, Huanyuan app. The 8 of them worked together, but they were still beaten back by Tang Weiner. The 8 of them gritted their teeth and defended desperately, but they didn't even have the strength to fight back. Long Chen is already at the end of his strength. Kill him quickly. Someone yelled. People suddenly looked into the distance. Sitting cross-legged in the void, Long Chen started to close his eyes and adjust his breath. Immediately, someone rushed to Long Chen. Go ahead, I'll protect brother Long Chen. Xiaoye immediately planned to withdraw to support Long Chen. Puff puff. However, those strong men who rushed towards Long Chen were hit by a thunder ripple before they could get close, and instantly turned into powder. At this time, people saw a beautiful girl covered with thunder, appearing behind Long Chen. With the appearance of Lei Linger, endless thunder runes flowed in her beautiful eyes, like a goddess of thunder descending into the world. Whoever gets close to my brother, die. Lei Linger gave a cold shout, and thunder exploded between the heaven and the earth, and 10,000 Dao trembled, filled with the will of heaven to destroy, making people's hearts shudder. Chapter 5407. Lei Linger is like the god of thunder, guarding Long Chen. Her thunder power is becoming more and more cold and terrifying. She doesn't need to do it herself, but just uses a little power of the thunder domain to kill those strong men who don't have eyes. At this time, Lei Linger was no longer the former Lei Linger, and already possessed unique strength. Those corpses swallowed by the chaotic space, as long as they survived the catastrophe, the power of thunder would be stripped out. You must know that these monsters are extremely terrifying existences, and their thunder power is the thunder of the Emperor's way. After Lei Linger absorbed it, it became even stronger. Not to mention one Yi Linfeng, even if there are 2 Yi Linfeng, Long Chen doesn't care. From the beginning to the end, Long Chen never used their strength. You know, they are Long Chen's strongest helpers. Not to mention Yi Linfeng, how powerful was Yingyue King Kong back then? Still suffered a big loss in the hands of the 2 of them. Summoning any one of them alone has the strength to fight Yi Linfeng. Long Chen fought with all his strength, even if the other party used the power of faith and the power of others to deal with him in a way that was almost cheating. Long Chen still did not use the strength of the 2 of them. Because Long Chen wanted to test out what level of strength he had reached after being transformed by Yaoshi's star crystal. However, what Long Chen didn't expect was that after such a long period of adaptation, a rash fight still caused violent shocks in the meridians, and the meridians showed signs of fragmentation, so Long Chen had to quickly repair the meridians. In Qian Kuanding's words, he was too impatient and too reckless. Yi Linfeng's overall strength was obviously weaker than him, and Lei Linger and Hua Linger were 2 powerful helpers, so he insisted on fighting against him. Obviously, he could be easily crushed and he would not be injured at all, but he fought to this point in the end, which made Qian Kuanding speechless for a while. But Long Chen also had his own reasons for killing Yi Linfeng. On the one hand, it was because this guy's mouth was too poisonous. If he didn't kill him himself, it would be difficult to resolve the hatred in his heart. On the other hand, the power of Yaoshi Star Crystal has to adapt sooner or later. It is better to hurry up. Even if it is injured, it is not a bad thing. Long Chen found that the power of the stars transformed by the Yaoshi Star Crystal became more and more violent, and only the meridians would bear huge pressure, making it easy to get injured. To control this kind of power, we can only start from two aspects, that is to make Yaoshi Star Crystal's power softer and less violent. However, Long Chen is still unable to communicate effectively with Yaoshi Star Crystal, so obviously this trick will not work. The other one is to strengthen the flexibility and carrying capacity of the meridian, which requires the meridian to be slightly damaged, then repaired, damaged again, and repaired again. Every time it is repaired, it will become stronger. In the process of repair and damage, Long Chen needs to find out more manipulation skills to make the uncontrollable power of the stars more docile. Only in this way can he exert the strongest power without getting hurt. However, everything has to be done step by step. Although this action is a bit reckless, but after kicking this kick, the road ahead will be easy. He has gained a lot from this battle. Although Chen Kuan-ding didn't understand and babbled a few words, Long Chen just smiled and didn't explain. After all, the Chen Kuan-ding is a tool spirit, its thoughts are basically solidified, and it is difficult to change, but his character is off-kilter, and everything does not follow the normal routine. This point, there is no way to communicate. However, Chen Kuan-ding's nagging was countered by Long Gushiyue, who said that Long Chen's performance was the real man. My own woman has been threatened over and over again. If she can still maintain her sanity, is she still human? Men, that's how it should be, just do it. If you don't accept it, don't worry about him, let's talk about it after doing it. What happened to the recklessness? Recklessness requires capital and courage. Those weak chickens, do you dare to be reckless? I'm not afraid that you are not reckless, but I am afraid that you dare not be reckless. If Long Chen doesn't even dare to be reckless, will he still have the courage to face Brahma? Do you still have the courage to face the challenges of the whole world? Long Chen was a little surprised. Unexpectedly, today's Dragon Bone Shiyue said something human, and it was very reasonable and deep, which made people admire him. As for the Chen Kuan-ding, the first time he was refuted speechless, he could only keep silent in the end. Long Chen couldn't help but feel amused. For the first time, he had a tacit understanding from the depths of his soul with the Dragon Bone Shiyue who had changed his body. Currently used, the app with the most complete and best audio for listening to books, integrated with 4 major speech synthesis engines, over 100 kinds of timbres, and an artifact that supports offline reading, Huanyuan app. ComSource app, could this be related to the First World War just now? Long Chen suddenly thought of this question. It seems that in this battle, the relationship between Long Chen and Dragon Bone Siye has been improved. Moreover, that kind of improvement is very strange and cannot be expressed in words. Boom! Long Chen has Lei Linger protecting him, heals his wounds with peace of mind, and carefully observes the changes in his body, while the outside world has already turned the world upside down and blood is flowing like a river. When Lei Linger appeared, he not only killed those strong men who tried to attack Long Chen, but also formed an enchantment with the power of thunder, covering the entire battlefield. The enchantment covers hundreds of thousands of miles of space. Such a huge enchantment, the power will become scattered and weak. However, even the weak thunder barrier cannot be broken by the general strong, unless it is the most powerful. And these powerhouses were all entangled by Tang Weiner and the 8 great god attendants. They were struggling to hold on at this time, and they didn't even have a chance to escape. Once they escaped, they would be the first to be killed under the influence of their energy. At this time, they were already riding a tiger, unable to get off, staying, unable to stay, leaving, unable to leave. Countless people cried and begged for their father and mother. However, the hidden dragon warriors have already been as hard as iron, and they will never show any kindness in the face of the enemy, and the long sword is mercilessly harvesting their lives. Countless strong men wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape, but were blocked by the thunder barrier. They attacked the thunder barrier with all their strength, but the thunder barrier remained motionless, and some people were even shocked to death by the thunder force of the barrier. At this moment, they were already caged birds, and all that awaited them was endless death. They cried, wailed, and even asked for help from outside the barrier. It's a pity that the strong outside the barrier are useless except for roaring. Yi Lingkong, you Fengshanhai Pavilion, are you going to fight to the death with all our forces? Are you trying to die forever? Someone was still threatening Yi Lingkong at this time. At this moment, Yi Lingkong folded his hands in front of his chest, with a grass stalk in his mouth, lazily watching everything that happened in the barrier, as if nothing happened. Hearing the old man's roar, Yi Lingkong didn't even look at them, slowly stretched out his arms, threw the grass stalk in his mouth on the ground, and then left in full view of everyone. What do you mean? The old man roared. When I was drinking with Long Chen, he said a word, I think it is very exciting, and now I use it to respond to you. Yi Lingkong, who was leaving, stopped, turned around, with a smile on his face. If you want to go, if you don't, die. Chapter 5408, Yi Lingkong, are you speaking on behalf of Fengshanhai? Are you declaring war on me, Brahma Pill Valley? The old man of Brahma Pill Valley shouted sharply. Today, he was completely stunned. First, Long Chen beheaded Yi Lingkong, showing a berserk gesture, which shocked even him. Afterwards, the astonishing combat power displayed by the Hidden Dragon Legion is completely different from the information they have, and the difference is too great. Now, Yi Lingkong responded to them so forcefully, which also made him completely confused. He didn't know what the decadent Fengshanhai was going to do? Is this a flashback? If you think it's a declaration of war, it's a declaration of war. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the sky is falling and someone taller than me is holding it up. What am I afraid of? Yi Lingkong lazily responded to the threat of the old man of Brahma Pill Valley. He left without looking back. Old ancestor, save me. Inside the barrier, countless disciples screamed and frantically begged for help. Unfortunately, these half-step god-level powerhouses couldn't enter the barrier at all, and could only watch their disciples die under the sword of the Hidden Dragon Army. Fengshanhai, we have written down this hatred. Sooner or later, we will attack together and kill all your disciples. A strong man roared angrily. It's a pity that howling has no meaning, let alone solve any problems. On the battlefield, one of the 8 top masters finally couldn't bear the pressure and was beheaded by Tang Weiner with a single sword. The balance on the battlefield was broken in an instant, and the rest of the strong were mercilessly beheaded one by one. These are the top talents of all races and sects, and they are regarded as treasures. Here, their lives are more despised than worthless ones. In less than a stick of incense, everyone was killed, the ground was completely dyed red, and corpses were strewn across the field, making one's scalp numb. Except for Tang Weiner, everyone in the Hidden Dragon Army was covered in blood. Some of the blood belonged to the enemy, and some of the blood belonged to themselves. But they don't care at all. If it was in the past, they would be afraid, disgusted, and feel disgusted by the blood. But now, the blood of the enemy is the glory of their battle, the sign of victory, and their challenge to fate. After a bloody battle, although the Hidden Dragon fighters did not die, almost half of them died, and some even had a few transparent holes on their bodies, which looked extremely tragic. But these female warriors were unmoved at all, and they didn't even repair their wounds. Those wounds could clearly tell them how close they were to death. If they want to stay away from the threat of death, they must become stronger. Otherwise, they cannot control their lives, so how can they control their own destiny? They are rapidly transforming from a girl with almost no blood on their hands to a female warrior who slays thousands of powerful enemies, and there is no disturbance in their hearts. Now they stand in a row, looking down at the group of strong men outside the barrier with a victorious attitude. The so-called killing and punishing the heart is like this. The Hidden Dragon Legion not only killed all their disciples, but also stood on top of their corpses and saluted them. You wait for the old man, and you will pay for your actions. This old man not only wants to kill you, but this old man wants to kill your 9 clans. You female beasts who kill thousands of knives, you will die. This group of strong men's lungs were going to explode with anger, cursing crazily across the barrier, uttering all kinds of dirty words, regardless of their status or shame. However, in the face of this group of old men who were roaring and cursing with ferocious faces, the hidden dragon warriors were not only not angry, but rather relieved. The strong never bothered to scold others. When they scolded the Hidden Dragon Legion, it meant that they had nothing to do with the Hidden Dragon Legion and could only vent their anger by spitting. Looking at a group of high-ranking half-step god emperors, spitting like shrews scolding the street, a strong sense of pride arises spontaneously. Hidden Dragon Warriors, look at me, I look at you, and I don't know who took the lead and laughed. As a result, the group of people couldn't hold back anymore and burst out laughing. It doesn't matter if they laughed, it directly made the group of old people outside very angry. Puff! An old man with a relatively strong temper spurted out a mouthful of blood, and he was so angry that he passed out. Seeing this scene, the Hidden Dragon Warriors became even more excited, and some even became childlike, dancing and making funny faces to deliberately anger them. It would be even better if they could kill 1 or 2 of them. Buzz! At this time, the barriers of the Windfield battlefield were superimposed one after another, and the law of space destroyed by the battle between Long Chen and Yi Linfeng began to recover by itself, and the barriers reappeared. The vision inside and outside gradually became blurred, and finally was completely blocked. Fortunately, the enchantment was restored. If they stared at each other like this, some of these old guys might really be pissed off. Call together all the strong men of all races, we will sit here and wait. Fengshanhai Pavilion will definitely not sit idly by. It doesn't matter, I don't believe they dare to go to war with all our forces, we will kill all their disciples in front of them, and let them have a taste of that. The old man of Brahma Pill Valley shouted. Okay, they'll send out a call for help. My Yinglong clan will come out in full force. If Fengshan Hage dares to shield their disciples, my Yinglong clan will fight them to the death. The old man of the Yinglong clan said through gritted teeth. That's right, our major powers use all their strength to scare them to death. It's fine if they don't do anything. If they dare to do something, we will work together to uproot Fengshanhai Pavilion. Whether they fight back or not, we might as well take the opportunity to destroy Fengshan Hage. This Fengyu battlefield will be ours from now on. The disciple was killed, and the crowd was excited. All the powerhouses sent signals to the clan, asking for reinforcements, as if they wanted to fight to the end with Fengshan Hage. Obviously, their hatred for Fengshan Hage has reached the point where it cannot be added. However, they forgot one thing, that is, when the previous Fengyu battlefields were opened, they regarded the disciples of Fengshan Hage as hunting targets, and how many disciples of Fengshan Hage died tragically at the hands of their disciples. Outside the barrier, the leaders of the major forces are planning to join forces to destroy Fengshan Hage. In the enchantment, Long Chen and the Hidden Dragon Warriors are healing their wounds and adjusting their breath. This battle can be said to be a complete victory, and the victory is extremely beautiful. It is a crushing victory. However, the opponents of the Hidden Dragon fighters are not comparable to those greenhouse flowers in the Fengshanhai Pavilion. Some people are extremely cruel and fight back desperately before they die. Between the lines. However, this is the difference between theory and actual combat, although the environment in Qibao space is infinitely close to actual combat. But the characters inside are all fixed, and the moves are only those. After they mastered the opponent's moves, the threat became smaller and smaller, and the 7 treasures space was of little significance to them. It can be said that this battle is the first bloody battle in their lives, and it is also their first step into the strong, all the price is worth it. 3 days later, everyone woke up, full of energy, and their morale was like a rainbow. After a little rectification, they set off directly. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.